Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn on a Fanatic Friday. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. That man is Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We've got T-Chains, Taman on the controls on the audio side. We've got Anthony Smith on the Big 12 studio side. We are so back in studio, live on location. Our guest today, Norm Roberts, will join us in about 45 minutes. Former St. John's head coach, former longtime assistant coach at Kansas, doing stuff for ESPN. You see him on the studio set at halftime and pregame. And then Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle will be joining us in hour number 2 because today we hit Houston for our Transfer Portal Tracker series. The Cougars loaded up in the portal. Can't wait to break that down. And Spencer Linton, host of BYU Sports Nation, will join us to preview the big showdown tomorrow, KU and BYU. How you feeling?
Can I ask you something? Who hasn't loaded up in the portal, quote unquote?
Everybody's loaded in the portal. Teams are loading up in the portal.
Well, and we've talked a little bit about it from the standpoint of there are more players in the portal than spots available. So, it's a math problem. There are a lot of guys that aren't going to, when the music stops, have a chair to sit in. And so because of that, I think the perception is everybody's loaded up in the portal. And that's not to say that Houston hasn't or any of the other teams haven't that we've discussed. I mean, my goodness, Indiana just won a national championship with an undefeated season loading up the portal. But it is sort of funny that everybody loads up in the portal.
Everybody
it's a great
loads up.
off-season narrative, and it's different from the NFL from the standpoint of some teams are more active than others in free agency, right? Some teams have an approach of spending a bunch of money in free agency. Other teams, like the Cowboys, don't spend any money in free agency, seemingly, and there's few others. College football is the one where it's like everybody's spending money in the offseason because you're losing guys as much as you're keeping guys, whereas the NFL feels like if teams want to retain certain guys, they're able to do it. College is different that way.
Yeah, that's a great point. I would say for the most part, definitely. But even in the Big 12, when you look at teams like TCU, who only brought in a dozen transfers. You look at BYU, who's brought in 9. Utah's in the low teens. And then on the flip side, you've got teams like Colorado, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Iowa State, 40, 50, in some cases 60 new players for some of these programs across the country. I do think that it probably does vary more than we think, but there's definitely like an average that seems to be in the 20s or 30s, which is a massive class,
right,
compared to what the recruiting cycles used to look like.
Right. No, you're right. I mean, it feels like 20 is on the low end. Mm-hmm. We know of some programs in the Big 12 we've talked about that added 50 players. 50. And Houston, and we'll obviously get to them, but they're an interesting study here because coming off a 9-win season? 10 wins? 9 wins? 10 wins. They got the 10th win in the bowl game.
The 10th win in the bowl game. Beat LSU.
So, in a position of power, if you will, as we they're 4th in standings in the Big 12, but lost some players because, maybe they don't have this NIL that allows them to keep some of their top end players. But yet, Willie Fritz in a short period of time has shown an ability to replace some of those guys pretty effectively.
Yeah, Houston quietly went 10-3 last season. If that was a program like, use a Penn State or even Iowa from the Big Ten or Nebraska, like one of these other programs that maybe have the pedigree in some of these other conferences, like you'd be raving about their season.
Yeah.
Like Houston went 10-3.
Yeah. It's like, well, how many did they win? Was it 9, 10?
Right. First time they'd won 10 games as members of the Big 12. By the way, being back here in studio, how does it feel? Like as kids, we counted down the days to summer vacation.
Yeah.
As adults, we've been counting down
the
days to when the house gets quiet again and we can get out.
Yeah, like last night threw kind of a party when got the announcement that school was back in. Now,
you threw the party.
Now, normally you just assume that there's a school day, they're going to have school. So there's no calls every day that says school is on. But this week we got calls all week with, I believe, one of the messages, automated messages from the Richardson Independent School District was, through an abundance of caution, which is something that I'm just so sick and tired of hearing about. And yesterday it was, a call through our automated system that I started cussing out the robot that called me. They know.
There's somebody listening on the other end.
The
Those
robot
calls
knows.
are recorded.
They're going to take that up the chain. They're going to run my complaints up the chain. They'll do it. And it was like, at first I was like, you're not doing this. You're not doing this to me. You can't do this to me. But the call was an affirmative.
The calls are jarring. They're jarring.
Jarring.
Because they come from an unknown number. They leave a voicemail if you don't pick up. And you know what it is without wanting to like fully let it sink in that
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's total denial mode.
Yeah, through an abundance of caution.
Well, it feels like the first day of like summer camp. Like we're reunited with the boys.
They can't even make up.
Back with your friends.
They can't even make up all of the days they've just taken off. I think they build in 2 snow days a year. And so there's 4 snow days they took this week.
I mean, I guess the kids are going to have to be in school through June.
No, what they
That's what
do
I
is,
say.
so I heard about what they do because my thinking was that. What they do is they basically say like, all right, what can we cut from the year? That's what they do. They say like, oh yeah, we have this curriculum to do all these days. Well, we've got to add, these, we can't add the days back, so what are we cutting?
Snow days are making our American youth dumber.
That's right. That's right.
Hashtag new beginnings.
I also want to know, it was like 60 degrees yesterday, and yet there's still ice because it then froze again overnight.
Yeah.
How long, like what, I want to know the math problem of like how long it takes and what temperature needed to completely unfreeze the entire city. Because there's different pockets and spots of black ice, and it's not good.
Our parking lot
Yeah.
is covered in ice.
It's a skating rink.
Almost bit it like 3 times trying to get into this building.
It's wild. It's like 65 degrees yesterday here. I just keep raising the temperature. It's like 55, but it's basically
86 yesterday.
79.
We've been taking the dog for a walk every day. That's been a bad idea.
You have a
Bad
dog?
idea. Yeah, he's fantastic. Have I mentioned that? Have I mentioned that I have a dog?
His name, yeah, of course. His name's
1,000 times? 1,000,000 times?
Cracker? Graham Cracker?
It's Biscuit.
Biscuit.
How dare
Oh, I was so
dare
close.
you, Graham Cracker. How dare you insult my intelligence?
In the UK, they call cookies biscuits.
Bro, we're watching a show right now, Broadchurch. Ever seen it? Set in the UK. It's a banger.
Oh, nothing makes me feel smarter than watching a show with British people.
Yeah,
The accents just do it. It just makes you feel sophisticated.
I know.
So have you watched The Pit?
They also talk really fast
Oh.
to the point where we have to have closed captioned on because sometimes, well, number one, it's just great for educational purposes, but also number two, sometimes you can't catch what's coming out of their mouth.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's wild.
The Pit, yes, tried an episode of that. It was a no-go. I liked it. Wife did not.
Oh, ER fan? Were you an ER fan?
Not really. I watched a little bit of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, not as good.
When it was hot off the press.
Not as good.
The Pit is getting like 9 out of 10 on IMDb.
Everybody keeps talking about The Pit. And my first thought when I saw it was...
And we ain't talking about Brad.
Yeah, no, we're talking about Noah. And when I first saw the preview, I was like, oh, this just looks like an ER reboot.
Yeah.
Apparently it is. And the ER was a very good show. Highly recommend.
Oh, it is an ER reboot?
No, it's not, but kind of.
Okay.
I haven't seen an episode, so you can tell me more than
Wait,
you.
you haven't seen an episode?
No, I'm getting ready to watch it.
Okay. I like to get your thoughts.
I just have a lot to do at nighttime, getting ready for the show the next day. I know you mail it in, but some of us have to get ready. Some of us have to get ready at night
Wow.
for the show,
Our brains work differently, and that's okay. There's no right or wrong way of doing things. And I took that personally. All right, Ari, flip a coin, basketball or football?
Football.
Football. Okay. The college football playoff changes for 2026. I don't think it's too early to start talking about how big of a deal this is and how the Big Ten and the SEC have totally screwed this whole thing up. Brett McMurphy from On3 is all over this, behind the scenes.
Right. We talked about it yesterday from the standpoint of here are the changes. The Big Ten and the SEC are in full control. They get more money, more automatic bids, blah, 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 blah. But to your point, the bigger picture here is we still don't have expansion for a playoff that seemed inevitable for expansion.
In a playoff that expansion would have helped the Big 12, especially versus, like we were close last year, getting a second bid in the 12-team field.
So do you think BYU would have gotten in even with a loss, or do you think that would have been 6 bids for the SEC?
BYU would have gotten in with one loss?
So with the second, so I'm saying is if we had a 16-team playoff this year, BYU loses 2 games both to Texas Tech, would they have gotten in?
Yeah, I think they would have gotten in because there was enough room that Texas would have been in. I think Utah probably would have been in with 16 teams.
Wow.
But Brett McMurphy, everybody he outlines that everybody wanted college football expansion, and it didn't happen. And it wasn't because the system needed more evaluation. It was because the 2 conferences that have the power now, the Big Ten and the SEC, couldn't get along, which is just insane to me. Grown men cannot agree on the betterment of the sport. And all 10 conference commissioners, Notre Dame wanted expansion. The Big Ten and the SEC, total control, deadlocked. And a lot of sources that Brett McMurphy notes in this article were very blunt. They wanted the power. They can't come to a decision. It's disgusting. There were bullies in the room. The Big Ten wanted this 24-team field, more automatic bids, play-in games, the whole deal, totally rework the system. The SEC said, okay, let's go to 16, let's go to 5 auto bids for champs and 11 at large. But even the changes for this upcoming season are going to have a larger impact on the current 12-team field than I think people realize on the surface.
Okay.
With the new rules, so the old format, the highest-ranked Group of 6 champion guaranteed a spot. And then it's ranking-based, highest-ranked Group of 6 team also got in. That's why you had Tulane and James Madison both in the field as Group of 6. Duke was not in the field, even though they won the ACC, because they weren't the highest-rated conference champion. This year's format, all 4 power conferences automatically get in, conference champs. So Duke would have been in. Now the highest-ranked Group of 6 conference champion goes away. So basically they've massaged this team, massaged this field, so only 1 G6 school is going to get in. And then Notre Dame gets in by brand clause if they're ranked in the top 12. So this season, to me, in terms of the automatic bids, the pool has been shrunk. And I think the available spots has been shrunk because of Notre Dame's caveat in the ACC, if the ACC has another year like it just went through, or any other conference for that matter. So it concerns me about the Big 12's chances of getting a second bid. And it magnifies to me the importance of that BYU-Notre Dame game in mid-October, because that could be an elimination game, week 7 of the college football season.
Look, and I would argue that the Big 12, the equity that the Big 12 is starting to build in the I think just the consciousness of college sports fans.
Definitely.
It's not a one-off. I think, you look at this year and with sustained success at the top, which I expect to have, that will go a long way, I think, in helping the Big 12 solidify multiple spots. I was pretty confident last year the Big 12 would be in position to get 2 bids. I'm more confident now just because of the sustained success. I think it's also important, James, as we talk through, the 24 versus 16 team, to figure out why the Big 10 feels so strongly about 24 teams, why the SEC feels so strongly about 16. For the 24 team piece, the Big 10 is adamant about kind of removing the selection committee. They want automatic bids to reign supreme here. Now, the SEC does too, but the biggest reason for why the SEC wants to stick at 16 is because 24 requires a much deeper dive into what the schedule and calendar looks like, and could result in the end of, the SEC championship. And I think we can all agree 24 is just a bridge too far at this point in time. And you wonder if the Big Ten came to the table and said, we'll go to 16, but we need assurances that eventually we go to 24, which was being reported. Yep. What the assurances were going to need to be for the SEC and the Big Ten to come to an agreement on this. But I also don't exactly have an issue with staying at 12. It's just, I think I was programmed to believe that we are going to have expansion. It was inevitable. And the fact that we're going to stick at 12 for 3 straight years and maybe 4 after that is surprising, even though it shouldn't be. For 150 years, there was no playoff. It didn't change. Right. Then you had the BCS National Championship, 2 teams. Then, multiple decades later, you had 4 teams. Then you had 12. And suddenly it's like the expectation of, well, now it's got to go to 16 or 24. After 150 years of having the same playoff the same way. It's pretty wild.
Well, and you look at an 8-7 matchup in the first 12-team field, a 1-10 matchup, the last at-large bid played for a national championship in this most recent college football playoff. It's been a dynamite tournament. Okay, if it's a tournament, it has been a banger. 12-24 feels drastic. Totally agree. I do like the Big Ten's line of thinking of eliminating the college football playoff committee, essentially this selection committee like we have in men's basketball, because I don't know that their line of thinking has made a lot of sense in terms of why they move teams. It feels like the goalposts are always moving to get certain teams in. I think we've seen that back-to-back years. With the 12-team field and how it's going to line up next season, my concern is that you're going to have 4 bids going to the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, and Big 12, right? Like those are locked in. So there's 4 of the 12. Notre Dame, if they finish in the top 12, which based off of their schedule, even if BYU beats them, it's going to be hard-pressed for Notre Dame not to finish in the top 12 because they've got 8 teams on their schedule that went 4-8 or worse last year. So there's 5 bids. Then you've got the group of 6 champion, or highest-ranked team, I should say. It's not the champion. Highest-ranked group of 6 team. So now you're at 6 teams. So you've got 6 of the 12 already decided. Can the Big 12 grab one of those at-large bids versus 3 teams from the Big Ten versus 3 teams from the SEC? I think it's as challenging as it was this past season. Now, to your point with where BYU and Utah and Texas Tech should be in the preseason top 25, which does matter. There's hard evidence data that supports that teams where they're ranked in the preseason, it moves the needle on your chances to get in the college football playoff at the end of the year. That should help the Big 12 definitely.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think you're right to sort of project out and at this point, just guarantee that Notre Dame gets a spot. I think the question is whether or not the SEC is justified in having 5 spots like it did this past year, or if that was sort of a tipping point in terms of the future trajectory for the SEC.
But if the Big Ten and the SEC each get 4 teams in, let's say, there's your bids. That's your field.
Right.
All right, Taman's on the controls on the audio side. He is Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Let's talk a little basketball, shall we?
We shall.
Coming up next, our Hoop It Up segment, Big 12 men's basketball weekend preview, and one of the big voices in college basketball is echoing our thoughts on just how dominant this league is. We'll break it down in just a moment. We are brought to you, the full-time fan, by Modelo in our Big 12 basketball game of the week tomorrow afternoon, 4 Eastern, 3 Central, BYU at Kansas. You can hear it right here on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league.
The Big 12. The opening tap is controlled to Colorado. McKaylee is also out there. Malone McKaylee, number 3 for the Buffs. And another 3-ball from downtown here in Ames, Iowa. Happy to have you with us here on FS1. On the wing, and a foul. Brunson looked for, he got through the double team and then didn't take the shot. Now he will, and he uses the glass to get it in. They'll have it down to 16. Tomcilovic playing with 2 fouls. That's the only negative. He drains another triple.
Just an excellent pass. The bigs for Iowa State can really distribute.
And speaking of, Malone returns the favor with a nice pass inside.
He is really playing well. He's drawn 5 fouls, so he's handled the physicality relatively well.
Count it, and 1.
Being around his old coach and seeing that CU across the chest.
They had great success. Beautiful move by Plata. Heisey is just fluid, isn't he?
I've liked how he's played tonight.
With
good
the
energy.
Ball, yeah, with the ball and without.
Yeah.
Bateman.
He is a really, really talented player.
And at the buzzer, they'll count that one. Crawford gets it to go.
It's Big 12 today. Here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. Where's your headphones, bro? Can you even hear me right now?
No.
You even hear me?
Yes.
He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We're back with you in studio. We're excited.
Big 12 dialed Studios. Into Big 12 hoops right now. Sorry. Yeah. So dialed in.
Hang on. Time out. No. What you're really doing is scrolling vintage NBA jerseys to see what's on the market. Because during the commercial break, Taman was sharing his love for vintage NBA jerseys, which we have in common. Kevin Garnett, Timberwolves, Jason Kidd, Mavs.
Yeah.
Luka, Mavs.
Luka,
oh, that's
Mavs.
A shot fired.
It's a good vintage jersey. That's what he was talking about.
So what did you find? What do you got there?
So, the Bulls had Derrick Rose's number retired.
Yeah.
And so my oldest son, Asher, has gotten really into sports this last year. And for the first basically 9 years of his life, he liked sports, but not nearly at the level that I would have liked. Which didn't bother me at all. But now that he's like fully in,
Yeah.
I just can't get enough.
Yeah.
So, he's, and like the problem is, so his friends all wear all different kinds of jerseys for all different teams.
Dude, we're a huge Jersey house.
And I can't do that. We're Chicago sports fans. We're Kansas, like, so he's got like, I used to have this Andrew Wiggins jersey, which worked out perfectly this year because of number 22 for Darren Peterson. It didn't say Wiggins on the back. It just said 22 for Kansas. So it's perfect, right? Like, so he's got a bunch of these Jordan jerseys and Darren Peterson. So, basically just looking for other jerseys to buy him that are not other teams. Because, like, I don't get it. Like, kids are not fans of teams anymore. They're fans of players and jerseys.
Yeah.
And I think that has a lot to do with the television side of things. And I know the networks, I've talked about this a lot. The networks are going to, like, 20 years from now, be like, oh, kids stops being sports fans, and this is what happened. But it's really because of access to sports.
Right.
Kids growing up in the city now have less access to Mavericks and Rangers games and Stars games they ever had before.
Yeah. YouTube Shorts, bro.
That's part of it, but it's also access. If these games were free over-the-air television, the Mavs, the Stars, the Rangers locally,
Yeah.
in the same way that if every city made access to their local teams free, they would not see the decline in sports fandom for their teams that they will in the next 2 decades.
Yeah.
And they'll complain it like most people do when they lose at capitalism on something else.
Totally. I feel like we're just a couple of bros that are just randomly naming old athletes because for Christmas, let's see, I got $5 CJ Spiller jersey. My son wanted the Buccaneers because that was his flag football team. I got him Jameis Winston and Michael Clayton.
See, you can't. You're gonna have this poor kid walking around with a Michael Clayton jersey.
Bro, all right, my
You're
youngest
gonna make
boy.
fun of him.
My youngest boy, so he played for the Dolphins, loves their colors, big Dolphins fan. Got him a white Dolphins authentic Ryan Tannehill jersey that he's obsessed with. He wears it everywhere.
People are gonna think he's an Aggie fan. Like, who else would wear a Ryan Tannehill jersey?
Exactly. See, to me, that's what makes it cool. Is it's just the most random player.
When I used to
He likes
do,
the Dolphins.
I hosted the pre and post game show for the Cowboys for 5 years, and we did the home games from the stadium. The collection of random Cowboys jerseys or other team, the opposition's jerseys, I would see on game day. I mean, it's crazy to think about some of the players you'd see jerseys for.
Oh yeah. And, like, that guy had a jersey? That was my first thought with Michael Clayton, but it's like the sweet, like, original Buccaneers when they first changed their colors. It's an awesome throwback. My wife bought a bag of NFL jerseys that somebody was selling on, like, Facebook Marketplace in the neighborhood. I don't even think selling. I think just giving away. There were like 30 jerseys in there. Some of them fit, some of them don't. But for me, it was like Christmas morning. I'm going through this bag. I'm like, what? Roy Williams? The safety? Yes, please.
It's amazing.
All right, Big 12 basketball. Iowa State throttled Colorado last night. Beat them by 30. Scored almost 100 points. To me, that magnifies the gap in this conference because Colorado's a team that could be a couple of wins away from being a bubble team. They started like 11-0 before they took one on the chin in the non-conference. And you've got a top upper echelon Big 12 team beating probably the 8th or 9th best team in this conference right now by 30. 30 points. Gary Parrish from CBS, a big college basketball name, this is what he said when talking about the strength of all these conferences in the Big 12.
Most of the computers are rating the SEC as the #1 conference in the sport this season, just like last season. But I don't think that's true. The Big 12 is the strongest conference because of the strength at the top. Arizona undefeated, unanimous #1 team in the AP poll, and yet a lot of people would pick Houston to be our national champion. Iowa State could win this whole thing. BYU could win this whole thing. If you get Darren Peterson and him with Bill Self, Kansas could make a run in the tournament. I don't know that the national champion is coming out of the Big 12, but they have more legitimate national championship contenders than any other conference.
Isn't that how it should kind of be ranked? I mean, like, what was determining that the SEC was the best? Top to bottom?
It would be top to bottom, less garbage at the very bottom type of thing. But I looked strength at the top. Big 12 stronger than anybody at the top.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've heard all year the SEC is the best conference, but I think it's obvious that the Big 12 is better at the top.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
Well, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. They kind of tend to, right? Sneezes?
I sometimes have a little buildup.
Yeah. Well, I apologize.
You just attacked the airwaves. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
I don't even know what we were talking about.
So, yeah, I mean, and I think, this goes back to, like, in the Big 12, you got to win your home games and split on the road. And so, like, you're going to probably see some of the top-end teams struggle in road games when it comes to the mid or the bottom. But Bill Self said it in his interview with John Rothstein. I mean, there's legitimately 4 or 5 national championship contending teams in the Big 12. I mean, Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech, BYU, Iowa State, Kansas. Am I missing anybody?
I'm looking at the SEC and where they're ranked in the KenPom because it doesn't make sense to me that the SEC is being touted as the best conference in America. They've got a bunch of teams ranked in the top 35. Their highest ranked team is number 8, and it's Florida right now, who is surging. And I've seen them in person, and I thought the same thing. It was just a matter of time before they looked like the Florida that we've seen under Todd Golden the last couple of years. They're the best team in the SEC. With that said, seeing them in person and seeing these Big 12 teams in person, I'd say they're the 4th or 5th best team in the Big 12. And why there's even a debate or any thought at all that Arizona is not the best team in college basketball blows my mind. Like, they're 21-0. There hasn't been a team start 21-0 since Baylor did it during COVID. Baylor went on to win the national championship, and they didn't have the schedule that Arizona has this year. Like, Arizona's beaten 3 teams that were ranked in the top 5 when they played them, and that has carried throughout the course of the season because those teams they beat early in November, and they just keep beating quality teams night in and night out. But, like, UConn is still in the top 5. Who else they beat? Florida. Just talked about Florida surging. They throttled Florida. Florida's up to number 8 in the KenPom. Like, Arizona, hands down, is the clear-cut favorite to win this entire thing. And if it's not them, the next best team in college basketball is probably from this league too.
Yeah. No, completely agree. And, I mean, again, we've said it all year. I think there's probably at least two Final Four teams out of the Big 12. I think we're looking at, at least one 1 seed and certainly at least one 2 seed. So, yeah, it'll be a fun finish. And, look, I mean, you hate to say it, but this is such a critical juncture of the Big 12 season, and especially when it comes to injuries. Because, I mean, look at Tech last year, look at Iowa State last year. I mean, those are 2 teams in particular that, if not for injuries, maybe have a different outcome from the season last year. So, at this point in time, with where everybody's sitting in terms of their health, like, there's 5, maybe 6 legitimate national championship contenders. Health plays a huge role in that, though.
Mm-hmm. Health will definitely be on display tomorrow for the BYU-Kansas game. And the status of Darren Peterson, the player availability report will come out 90 minutes, I believe, before tip-off. And I know that one comes out tonight, so we'll keep an eye on that. But Iowa State, with that 30-point win, Iowa State has won by 30 or more in 2 of their last 3 games. In Iowa State, we talk about their big 3, Momcilovic and Tamin Lipsey and Joshua Jefferson. But last night, TJ Otzelberger, after that 97-67 win over Colorado, talked about his bench play being the difference.
After our game Saturday, there's a lot of talk about our bench and what production we need or what needs to happen and all that. And I think across the board, our guys really stepped up. And again, we don't view scoring as necessarily what is at the top from a contribution standpoint. Yet at the same time, it does bring value, and it gave us a huge spark. I think a play, to be honest, like the last couple of days and even last week or so, we've really been after him. He's capable of what he did tonight, and as much as we're going to celebrate what he did tonight and tell him it's great, we're going to expect that he does it again Sunday. It's not an outlier. It's not a hey, he'll do that once a month. We need that level of production. He's a really good player. He's very physical. He goes to the boards with force, and now we're looking for a level of consistency for that to happen every single time he plays.
Dom Plata had a big game. Jamarion Bateman had 17 points off the bench for Iowa State in that 30-point win.
Yeah. There was also a big one last night on the women's side. TCU survived against Kansas in a game that, Kansas was down 13 points after the first quarter. TCU hit 6 threes the first quarter, was up by 13, and then Kansas, because of their ability to score in the paint, 46 points in the paint, and then 19 for 24 from line. They made this thing very interesting in the fourth quarter. TCU survives 79-77 at Schulmeyer Arena in Fort Worth against Kansas, with Jalea Davis going for 29, 9, 3 assists and a block. Samaya Nichols with 24 and 3. The fourth quarter, with 4 minutes remaining, Kansas started on a 9-2 run, then cut the deficit 67-65. And then between the final 2 minutes and 18 seconds, the game was insane. It was a great finish, great basketball game to watch.
The longest active home winning streak, currently, who is it?
On the men's side.
Women's.
I don't
it's
know.
TCU.
I was going to say, is it TCU? I didn't know if you were just asking me or if you had the answer.
No, I had the answer.
Got it. TCU.
TCU's won 38 straight games at home.
Wow.
38 under Coach Campbell.
That's got to be first to the nation across men's and women's, right?
I would think. Yeah, definitely. It's Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. TCU survives against Kansas last night on the women's side. Iowa State on a Thursday night led 52-29 at halftime over Iowa State. We've got Norm Roberts coming up around the corner, former St. John's head coach, longtime assistant at Kansas, to recap the Colorado-Iowa State game and then preview all the bangers this weekend in the Big 12. The Big 12 slate this weekend on the men's side, highlighted by the KU-BYU game, but it all gets started at noon Eastern, 11 Central on Fox with Cincinnati at Houston. Also at 11 a.m. Central on ESPN2. Could be a trap game for Texas Tech. They are at UCF. UCF is quietly 16-4. And then at 1 o'clock Central on TNT, Arizona at Arizona State. At 4 o'clock Eastern, 3 Central on ESPN2, Baylor at West Virginia. That big ESPN Game Day game on ESPN at 3:30 Central is BYU and Kansas. And then at 5 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2, Oklahoma State at Utah, a must-win for both of those teams. Oklahoma State's 2-5 in the Big 12. Utah 1-6 at the Huntsman Center in Salt Lake. We'll take a timeout and chat with Norm Roberts coming up next here on Big 12 Radio. Heard exclusively on TuneIn, brought to you the Full-Time Fan by Modelo, and you're watching us on Big 12 Studios.
And she's on the floor tonight. The opening tap is controlled by Davis. Brandon Schneider's team has been mixing and matching all season long. They've only had their full lineup for 3 games this season.
At this pace, they may put up 30.
11 makes in conference play, 9 overall.
Yeah. Thank you.
On the drive, counted and won a
She can pretty much challenge any taller defender to get that shot up and off the glass.
Meister on the inside, and the foul. Chance for a 3-point play.
That was a good read by Miles. Copeland went under that on-ball screen, so she just stopped and popped.
Davis, we're learning you can't stop her one-on-one. Muscles it up, and one. Vandell picks up her first personal. Silva goes to the bench for TCU with her 3. Miles, little hesitation in the finish. Miles on the drive with the finish, and one.
Copeland trying to deny Miles the ball.
Sheffy, 3 on the shot clock. Sheffy throws it up and hits.
Kansas needs to play with a little pace here.
Nichols for 3. Finally, Kansas makes one after going 0 for 10 beyond the arc. Come up with a couple of 3-pointers here today. Comes up with 1 of 2 at the free throw line, and Kansas will use. Thrown towards the basket, picked up, thrown up. That came after the buzzer, but was there a foul?
Back inside Big 12 today, heard on Big 12 Radio, exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios, talking college basketball with the coach, Norm Roberts. He joins us each week here on the program. Good morning, Coach.
Hey, morning, guys. I hope everybody's staying warm.
Oh, we're doing the best we can. We're trying. We're here. We're in studio for the first time all week here in Dallas, so that's exciting for us. Iowa State, man, they were not bothered by anything last night against Colorado. They've won 2 of their last 3 games by 30 or more. We were just talking during the break about their kind of resurgence after a couple of L's. What do you see from the Cyclones?
Well, I see that they're being so much more aggressive on both ends of the floor. Last night, it seemed every time Colorado touched the ball on that baseline, they trapped them either from the low side or kept the ball on the sideline. That first 10, 15 minutes of the game, they had Colorado totally out of sync. They couldn't even get up a shot half the time. And then I thought offensively, Jefferson was so much more aggressive, trying to score and attack, and Lipsey was the same way. So I think they've really, probably looked at what was going wrong for them, put it together, say, hey, guys, we can be a lot better, and they are really surging right now.
Kansas, BYU, Saturday, Allen Fieldhouse is going to be lit. Be a lot of NBA scouts there to watch Peterson and DeBonsa, who, the presumptive 1 and 2 picks. From what you've seen, what are the differences between these two guys?
I would say, obviously Darren can score from all over the floor. He also is good facilitator. They're very similar, to be honest with you. AJ is just bigger and probably a bit more explosive. AJ likes to get more to his mid-range than shoot the 3. And they do a lot more isolation for him with BYU than Kansas does with Peterson. Peterson's going to use ball screens and quick rips and goes. And so I think it's going to be an exciting, really, really exciting game. But I don't think it's going to come down to just those 2 guys. I think it's going to be what the other players do around them that is going to decide the game.
What are a couple of keys then for those other players around DeBonsa for BYU and Peterson for KU?
Who could be more successful getting down the lane between Rob Wright and Melvin Council? Those 2 guys are attack mode point guards. Who can keep the other one out of the lane? Because Rob Wright is a beast when he can get in the lane. Now, he struggled against Arizona because of Arizona's size. They're so big. And he really struggled to score over top, tried to draw fouls and didn't get them. Kansas is not as big. They may be a little bit more athletic, but they're not as big. So can Rob Wright finish in the lane and now really collapse that defense, which allows their shooters and other things to go well for them? And can Melvin Council get out in transition and attack the basket and create opportunities for his team?
You obviously coach Tyshawn Taylor. I think there's a similarity in terms of body build and look. I mean, how similar are Melvin Council and Tyshawn?
I think they are. I didn't get to coach him. I wish I did.
Okay, my bad.
But I've known Tyshawn a long time.
Sure.
I remember watching film.
He played for the great Bobby Hurley in high school too.
That's true. And he was a 3-man in high school, to be honest with you. He wasn't the point guard at all, Tyshawn Taylor. So he played with Mike Rosario and those guys too. So, but what I would tell you is when we watched film on Melvin, I was watching some film with Jeremy Case, who recruited him. And the bottom line is the more you watch, the more you said, this guy's like Tyshawn. He's like Tyshawn. The way he can go from 0 to 100 as quick as that, the way he can attack and transition, the way he can finish around the basket. We also thought he could be a tremendous defensive player because of his length and his quick feet. So that's probably what reminds me most about him.
Norm, with sticking with Council, he just has incredible instincts. He just figures out a way on both ends of the floor to win basketball games, which is a lot like Tyshawn. But the thing I love about him is his backstory. Like, he was a JUCO kid. He goes to Wagner and then St. Bonaventure. Now he's playing for the Kansas Jayhawks. Is there anything you can add in terms of, like, how KU found him in the portal, what the connection is, what they liked about him, and how he ended up on this stage?
Well, I know in the portal we wanted to find speed, athleticism. Coach wanted to get back to being an athletic, quick team, which we hadn't been over the last couple of years as much as we would have liked to. And he definitely wanted to do it from a point guard position. And also if you could add size, some size. And, Melvin's 6'4". He's got long arms. And we wanted a downhill attack guy. Downhill attack. We've always had guards like that. We talk about the Frank Masons and Tyshawn Taylors and Sharon Collins and those guys. So that's kind of what attracted us to him. He had been a star at St. Bonaventure's, so maybe the moment wouldn't be too big for him. But he also played with good players at St. Bonaventure, so he knew how to be a company guy and a team guy and sharing the ball. So he really fit the bill of everything that Coach wanted.
We're talking with Norm Roberts here about Big 12 hoops here on Big 12 Today, presented by Modelo, heard on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. What else has kind of caught your eye, Coach, in watching the Big 12 these last couple of weeks?
Well, I think that Texas Tech is really coming on too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting healthy. I think they're going to get some of those big guys back that they've been missing and everything. But the way Petty stepped up, the way Atwell stepped up, they're playing really well. I would say that Houston has found ways to win. I know they lost a tough one, could have easily have won that game at Tech. But they're finding ways to win and play through the foul trouble. And, the one thing that's got to happen with Houston, and I know it's driving Coach nuts, is they got to keep Tugler on the floor. Him and Senac have to stay on the floor. Yeah. It really messes up the chemistry of their team when those guys are in and out of the game and they have to go to their backup guys or have to play small. With them playing small, now you see them getting beat on the glass because those big guys aren't there. The other thing is Arizona's a beast. They are who they are. And everybody thinks they can stop the way they play. You can't. And if they've got to play fast, they can play fast. If they got to grind it out, they can grind it out. If they're going to dominate you inside, which they always are going to do, they're going to do that. And probably the thing that's going to be really going on the next couple of weeks is some of these better teams, the Texas Techs, the Houstons, the Arizonas, and Iowa State, and BYU and Kansas, they're going to start playing each other. So now you're going to start seeing, like, the guy, one of the teams that has the toughest schedule coming out is probably Kansas.
Yeah.
Kansas has got BYU next and Tech. They got those in the next two games. That's going to be tough. And with BYU, they got Kansas and then they got Houston in a couple of weeks. So they're going to play a tough schedule. And then Arizona's going to hit that in late February.
Yeah, what's interesting about the upcoming slate is you have these top 6 teams that are starting to play each other, but that means you have the bottom 10 that are also starting to play each other. So when you look at like a West Virginia, a TCU, a Cincinnati, a UCF, I think UCF's off the bubble. Joe Lunardi doesn't even have them as the last 4 buys. Like, they're in right now. But when you look at like a West Virginia, a TCU, a Cincinnati, some of these others, maybe even a Baylor or Oklahoma State, like of that bottom tier that's going to start playing each other, who do you think's most likely to kind of separate themselves and get back in the conversation?
I think you'd have to say would be UCF that could get back up there and get some wins because they've done a great job. They really have done a great job. Coach Dawkins has always been a great defensive coach, and they're guarding and they're winning games by running away with it a little bit, and they're winning close games too. The point guard can make plays at the end of games to help them win. So I think they're coming into their own. I think it's been Oklahoma State has probably stepped back a little bit, because they were kind of playing off of making shots, and they're not doing that as well right now. And Baylor is such a dangerous team because they can score so good. But it's just they can't defend. They're not strong enough. They're not physical enough. And in the end, they kind of get worn down quite a bit. So, but a scary team is West Virginia.
Yeah.
Because that is a tough place to go and play. He's got them playing with some confidence. If they can rack up a couple of wins here at the end, they can move up into that area.
Yeah, I'm curious. You look at Arizona, obviously every team's got to have flaws, but so far you haven't really seen them. What do you like? How would you, as a coach, try and beat Arizona? What would be the way to try to beat them?
Well, I think that the one thing is you've got to rebound the ball. You got to find a way to rebound the ball and keep them off the glass and limit them to one shot or less. I think then you have to be able to attack them somewhat inside as well, and try to get them in some type of foul trouble and everything. Because if you don't, that Krivas is just going to clog up that lane, or Toby Awaka is going to clog up that lane, and it's going to make it very, very tough for you. You have got to, against them, you have to make shots. You got to make shots. And if you saw with BYU, I think I talked to some people before, Davis really came on for them making shots. He wasn't making any threes, Davis. I think he was really shooting it bad. And that probably doesn't make Kansas very happy today, coming up. But he goes off, and I think he was either 4 for 6 or 5 for 7 or something like that from the three-point line, which got BYU went right back in the game. It got him back in the game because Arizona couldn't settle off him. So you have to make threes against them. You have to make shots. You've got to keep them off the glass. And I think you got to find some way of attacking them inside and getting Pete or getting Krivas or getting those guys where they got to go deeper into their bench.
Talking with Norm Roberts here on Big 12 Today. Norm will be back behind the desk at ESPN here in just a couple of weeks. And so, Norm, I know you're watching all these games. What's who's the number one team outside of anybody in the Big 12 nationwide that you think is the best team in college basketball? Like when the brackets come out, Big 12 fans should be circling that team and saying, okay, that's going to be a tough game. We don't want them in our region. Who's that club?
Wow. I think you probably have to say it would be UConn.
Okay.
Because when UConn gets all their pieces, everybody healthy, they're as dangerous as any team in the country. Obviously, Coach Hurley's a terrific coach. They can score from the perimeter. Solo Ball has really kind of come on the last couple of weeks. He wasn't playing well. Now he's playing well. If they can get him, Caravan, Mullins, all playing at top level together, they're an extremely dangerous team. They do have some experience with Caravan and that stuff. So I would think UConn would be the most dangerous team. Gonzaga's another dangerous team that you have to watch out for. And then that Big Ten, the Big Ten is terrific. I think Purdue's kind of come down to earth a little bit. I don't think they have the margin of error that some other teams have. Yeah. If Lawyer doesn't shoot it well, they're in trouble as a team. They need him to be a guy that shoots it to help Braden Smith. And Michigan is as tough as they could be. So I would say it would probably be UConn and Michigan would be the two teams that are the most dangerous teams.
Okay, UConn. Yeah, they've been a staple. They've been a power. Norm, we always love your insight, man. Stay warm, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
All right.
Thanks, Norm.
That's the coach, Norm Roberts, here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios. Coming up next, Big 12 basketball, big picture. Some analytics stuff from Evan Miyakawa. Also, we'll take a look at a really interesting graph that shows teams that shoot threes versus teams that make threes. Texas Tech shoots and makes a lot. Arizona, they don't shoot a lot. Do they make them? Also, UCF is off the bubble, according to Joe Lunardi, the bracketologist. Before we get to our transfer portal tracker, which is here in about a half hour, breaking down the Houston Cougars football offseason today here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn.
The Buffs have got to be great lately in running teams off the three-point line and forcing tough threes.
One of their superstars in Tess Heel out for the second straight game as she deals with an eligibility issue. Walker pickpockets Garcia. Step around and lay it. Not much difference between the game clock and shot clock, about 4 seconds. Former teammates Sides and Walker going at each other here at the end of this quarter. Spicer drives, loses the ball, trying to go up against Walker, somehow scores. Masagayo forced to give up the ball. Baseline drill jumper by Anna Gooden. Against this 2-3 zone. K-State has stayed in the zone pretty much the entirety of the game. 2 times of press, but not much of it. Masagayo through the lane. Tough runner. Got it.
You've got to be able to allow White to get deep in that post, be high.
Finally a 3 down for K-State. That's the first points of the game for Terran Sides. They do have a few, including Spicer, who are near 90%. Just some others that are well below 50%. Walker dared to take the 3. She'll hit it. K-State has struggled as well in games less than 5 points, just 5 and 4. A year ago, they were dominant in those games. And a long 3 poured in for the top of the circle by Greer.
Multiple players in double figures, 3 in double figures in that win over Oklahoma State. And they spread it out yet again today with 4 players hitting double figures tonight here on the road.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Had the coach, Norm Roberts, joining us just moments ago here on Big 12 Studios, the Big 12 Fast Channel. Former longtime assistant at Kansas. Loved what he had to say about KU recruiting Melvin Council. You're a mess. You are a hot mess this morning. This guy's zipping around during the commercial break, back and forth, back and forth. Your mic's not working now. You put your coat on. The thermostat police has entered the building, shouting from the rooftops, it's 62 degrees in here. It's too cold. This man is uncomfortable, and I can't get him reined back in.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. It's freezing in here. I thought at first I was like, I could tough it out,
Oh, man. Like the behind the scenes, that was epic. That was a wild ride.
I feel like now I know what Caleb Williams is going through in sub-zero temperatures at Soldier Field during a playoff game.
Yeah.
This is pretty much what we're dealing with.
Weather matters.
Weather matters.
Your memory retention, your brain processing speed, all plummets during the cold.
I think that's obvious. You looking at buying a TV?
Actually, maybe. Why?
This
Got
is the
some
time,
deals?
This is the time of year to buy them.
Is
I
it?
just didn't know if you knew that. Yeah. Everybody thinks Black Friday. Wait for Black Friday. No. Super Bowl time.
Okay.
That's when the best deals on television happen.
Super Bowl. That's it.
Yeah. This is the time of year. This is it.
Okay. Yeah, we're thinking about maybe moving, and we would need a new TV if we do that.
You've been thinking about moving since we started doing the show, which has basically now been 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, it's real now.
It maybe. We'll see.
Where are you moving?
Just a couple neighborhoods over.
Does your wife know?
Yeah. No, she'll be joining me. She'll be joining me on this journey. It's actually her idea.
Oh.
Yeah, her idea this time.
Couple of neighborhoods
I'm
over.
the one that's like, let's think this over.
A couple of neighborhoods over, huh?
Let's think this over. Okay.
The problem is the interest rate thing.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
But we're locked into a bad interest rate now.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, no,
Perfect.
we've got.
Oh, you're good to go.
Our
then.
mortgage payment is astronomical.
Got it.
Yeah.
Coming to my neighborhood or?
No, the other way.
Okay, good.
The
Yeah,
other
because you'd have to be vetted.
Right.
There'd be a lot of vetting that would go into
Right.
it.
I mean, that neighborhood sounds intense. Like, I like your friends. They all seem like great guys. I don't know that I'd be welcomed with open arms.
You wouldn't be. No.
Like,
yeah.
who's this weirdo?
Not material for where we live.
Is he wearing a shacket? No. I don't think
Sorry, he's
so.
from where?
Just let him know I'm really full of myself. All about me.
It's true.
All right, we're going to do our transfer portal tracker for Houston here in about 15 minutes. But Big 12 basketball, big picture. So UCF is off the bubble, according to Joe Lunardi. Like, they're not even on the map. They are locked in to like an 8 or a 9 seed. They're 16-4. They should be off the bubble. They've got a massive game tomorrow against Texas Tech. But it's also, basketball is the sport. Like, it is graph season year-round. All right, if graphs are wrong, I don't want to be right, because there are graphs for days when it comes to college basketball.
James is obsessed with graphs.
Who doesn't love?
I made a graph,
Good
sent
graph.
it to James, and he immediately put it on the rundown.
I was like, is this a graph? Did you just graph me, bro? Let's go. So this graph.
What's your favorite graph, by the way?
Oh, man, there's so many good ones out there. I really liked the one that we broke down the other day.
No. Just bar graph, scatter graph. What are we looking
okay.
at here?
Oh, man, I love a good bar graph.
Love a good bar
Like,
graph.
Call me old school, a good bar graph. Like the scattered graphs, you got to lean in. It's harder to read. But like a good old-fashioned bar graph, show me my portfolio, put it in bars. Am I winning or am I losing? That's what I want to see.
It's the simplicity that sets it apart.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, so this three-point attempt rate versus three-point percentage graph is a good visual of teams that shoot a lot of threes and teams that, when they shoot threes, they make them at a very high mark. So a couple of teams stood out to me.
So there's four options here, right? You can either be low volume, low percentage, low volume, high percentage, high volume, low percentage, high volume, high percentage.
Yes, all of those things. There are not a lot of teams that are high volume and also high percentage. Naturally, that makes sense. But Iowa State, although they're below the cut line in three-point attempts, they don't take a ton of threes. They are the best power conference three-point shooting team from a percentage standpoint. That, to me, makes them very dangerous. Not just for the rest of the regular season, but also the postseason. And then the other team is Arizona. We've highlighted this a ton. Arizona attempts the fewest threes among power conference teams in America. But they're towards the upper echelon in percentage. They're shooting 38% as a team from three. So when they need to shoot threes, they're making them. And then the third team I'll highlight is Kansas State, because Kansas State is shooting 40% from three, among top 5 among the power conference teams in the country. They also take a ton of threes. So they're checking all the boxes, but they're 1-7 in Big 12 play because they don't have the interior guys that do the other things that you need from posts. So if you're a really good three-point shooting team from a percentage standpoint, you still have to have guys that rebound, that set good screens, that clean up the offensive glass. K-State doesn't have any of those guys on the inside. But Iowa State and Arizona stood out to me as the two teams from this particular graph of all the graphs we love.
Well, Iowa State is one of the most efficient teams in the country in terms of volume versus percentage. And I think that's the sweet spot here. A lot of times when you look at some of these scatter plots, you're looking to the top right. You want to be the right side of the graph, higher in both the X and Y axis. In this case, though, there's a sweet spot for three-point attempt rate. So like Louisville, for instance, shoots around 36% and shoots about 55% of their shots are threes. So like Alabama's in the same category. So those are two teams that are basically three-year layups, and they're probably not shooting nearly as high of a percentage as they need to be. Indiana's also in that category, which is probably why Indiana's been kind of a disappointment so far this year. Arizona is exactly where you expect them to be. Very low percentage of three-point attempt shot, high percentage in terms of 3 points made. And that's important, right? Like, we talk a lot about Arizona in terms of their three-point shooting, and like Tommy Lloyd will always bring up, like, we're not a bad three-point shooting team. We just don't shoot a lot of threes because teams, don't force us into those situations. So, yeah, and I think to your point, like K-State just goes to show you that, like, it's not all about three-point shooting. That's a high-volume, high-percentage three-point shooting team, and they're still not good.
So the teams, you're right, they're still not good.
They're still bad.
They're struggling.
Sorry.
1-7 in Big 12 play.
Sorry.
It'll be fine.
Sorry, not sorry.
All right, so when I look at this, a couple of teams you noted from other conferences, like come March, all these graphs, it's like, okay, what could these teams do in the NCAA tournament? Which I think it's going to be very chalky again like it was last year, because that's the direction I think we're headed with the NIL gap. Like the Melvin Councils, who were outstanding group of 5, group of 6 players, are now playing at places like Kansas. So you're just not going to have as many stars from that level. So I look at like a Louisville and an Alabama and even Nebraska's kind of in that same camp as teams that could make deep runs if they're on, teams that shoot a ton of threes but don't necessarily shoot a great percentage. Like this isn't the same Alabama that took down BYU in last year's tournament and was just in fuego, like could not miss. They're not shooting the ball as well. So they could be an early exit is what I'm saying, if there was a Cinderella, if they have an off night. I don't see any Big 12 teams in that camp. Like Oklahoma, Duke, Illinois, Indiana, Alabama, Louisville, Nebraska is all kind of in that pocket. Texas Tech, sure, they're taking a lot of threes, but they're making a ton of threes. Like there hasn't been an off night for Texas Tech because they have so many guys by volume that can fill it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think what else are you looking for in this one?
Well, teams that just shoot it really well, number one. And then the other thing that I just noted is teams that, man, if they're off, like they could be a team that potentially gets upset. I don't see anybody from the Big 12. Houston is right dead center.
What about, so like Arizona is interesting or Colorado is interesting because they're a low volume three-point shooting team but higher percentage. Do we think that the more they shot, the worse their percentage would go? Like, are they in the sweet spot?
I would say
where like their volume and percentages are right on track. If they shot a higher volume of threes, they might not be at 38%. They might be closer to 36%. So it's like with some of these, it's probably a sliding scale. Mm-hmm. The more you shoot, the lower your percentage could go.
Right. The other thing about these teams that, like, they're on the left side of this chart, they don't take a lot of threes. That doesn't bother me come the NCAA tournament because bigger, more physical teams are the teams that make deep runs. Because in the NCAA tournament, the officiating is like the NCAA doesn't want games decided at the foul line. Sure, you'll get in situations where it'll come down to some free throws late in games, but it's not as much to me in the as it is in the regular season. Like, they let them play. And teams are more connected. There's not as many turnovers. The game isn't as sloppy. Teams are just better defensively, better rotations, in better positions. So like foul trouble and that element to me usually doesn't decide outcomes, whereas maybe it would in a game in the regular season. So like a team not taking as many threes because they get to the lane, they get to the paint, they dominate there, they get to the foul line. Excuse me. Like at Arizona. I think that can hold up in the NCAA tournament.
How about Florida?
And that's where this graph actually initiated from. It was from a Florida writer that put this together. Because Florida shoots just 29% as a three-point shooting team. They're really bad from three. Really bad. Worst among power conference schools. Now there's 2 sneezes today.
I'll tell you what, my wife, well, she sneezes 5 times in a row.
Wow.
It's infuriating.
Always 5?
Sometimes 6.
Why is it infuriating? That feels a little bit dramatic. Why does that make you so angry?
Why does that feel a little bit dramatic? Because it's a lot. It's a lot of sneezing. I sneeze once, one and done.
She can't help it, right?
You'd think so. You'd think so. You would think she couldn't help it.
Sounds like you don't buy into that. Like you have questions about, are the sneezes being embellished a little bit?
Yeah, I do.
Hey.
My main reason is because she'll sneeze and I'll say bless you, and then sneeze again and I'll say bless you, and then sneeze again, and it's like, okay, that's enough.
You just
and she just keeps going.
At that point, you're angry about it.
It just keeps going.
It's ruined your whole day.
It just keeps going.
It's the most you thing ever.
She's exaggerating
Yeah.
how much she's sneezing.
Yeah. It's attention seeking. It has to be, right?
Very attention.
I mean, there's no other reason.
I mean, and here I am, just trying to be a nice guy, just try to say bless you. You know, you try and you try and you try. That's all you can do.
A for effort.
A for
I'd
effort.
give you a B+. Like, I think you can keep it going. It's not a big deal. That's good. All right, the other graph is scoring load versus.
Tell you, if Lacey sneezed 5 times in a row, you'd also lose your mind. You'd also go crazy.
Oh, man. Too many jokes. All right.
Not enough time.
Scoring load versus minutes played is another graph that our buddy Evan Miyakawa put together. He's got different pockets. Nation leading scorers, guys that score a ton because they play a ton. He's got scoring specialists, guys that when they're on the floor, when they're in the game, they're scoring in buckets. Then he's got team hubs, guys that are always on the floor, never come off the court. They can score when needed. And then he has high impact guys. The value and the guys that are vital to team success without scoring. And there's Big 12 players all over the place. Like the guys that score a ton and are on the floor a ton. You got DeBonsa, you got JT Toppin, you got PJ Haggerty at Kansas State. Makes total sense. But then team hubs, Christian Anderson checks that box. Always on the floor, can score when needed. And that's how I think about Christian Anderson, is he's a guy that his scoring is effortless. He does it very efficiently. He scores 15, 20 points, and it doesn't feel like it's like a quiet 20. But he's also capable of going off for a 30, 35-point game. The scoring specialists, Darren Peterson. When he's on the court, he scores at will. He is tops in the nation in that bubble. And then the high-impact guys, I look at JoJo Tugler and Tobe Awaka, guys that don't score a ton, but they're vital to Arizona with Awaka and Tugler to Houston's success. A lot of names.
Can you explain this to me like I'm 6?
Yes.
Because you know I love math and graphs, which I don't. I do, but I don't.
Yeah. So it's points
I basically have the math abilities of a 7-year-old.
Okay. I got you, dude.
Because my 10-year-old's doing math at school right now that I'm like, I can't help you with this.
Bro, I'm a big math guy. Big math guy.
Yeah, I could tell.
Big math guy.
It's obvious.
All right, so this is points per 100 possessions.
Got it. Okay.
Right? And then your minutes per game is the other axis. So points per 100 possessions. Darren Peterson leads the country. All right, so however, for 100 possessions of everybody, Darren Peterson scores the most points. And then you've got guys that are on the floor a ton, like Christian Anderson, but his points per 100 possessions is like 27, 28. Like Darren Peterson, think about this. Per 100 trips down the floor that Kansas has the basketball, I know this is a lot of numbers, Darren Peterson scores 40 points. 40. Which basically means he's scoring like every third trip down the floor when he's out there. He is a walking bucket.
Yeah.
It's insane to me.
So he needs to play more, is what this graph says.
If he can.
Yeah, right.
If he can.
The other one I'd like to look at is shots. You know, how efficient are these scores, right? Because we're looking at this in terms of points scored and minutes played. I'd be curious to see how they got to these in terms of points.
Volume versus efficiency. With you on that.
All right. Volume versus efficiency versus minutes.
That's a lot of verses, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll break it down. Put that together in no time. All right, Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle joins us here in about 20 minutes. Up next, our Transfer Portal Tracker series continues with the Houston Cougars. We're towards the upper echelon of the Big 12. Each and every day we highlight a different team, talk about their offseason portal movements. We started at the bottom. We're almost to the top. We've got Houston today here on Big 12 Today, powered by Modelo on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. Check out the top plays from Big 12 men's basketball starting five.
UCF hung tough with Arizona on Saturday. As here's Momcilovic's first three, and it's good.
This guy, I mean, if he comes off the screen.
And now 5 to shoot. Jefferson going to town and sends it back out. Momcilovic.
You can see that coming.
DJ calls Nate Heisey the wild card for this team. One of those glue guys that can really affect plays. Lipsy rips it away.
Well, I mean, he was a really good shooter at Northern Iowa. They need him to contribute.
This guy contributes. Jefferson got a hand on that one and takes it away. Running the floor with Lipsy joining him. Momcilovic, the trailer. Yes!
Crawford, Justin Shamian, Kelly Pfeiffer, our crew. Lipsy's been quiet thus far. Jefferson has been loud. Joshua Jefferson has ached off. Torrey beyond his years. Momcilovic got his man in the air. Milan! And
to get up into the ball. Here's why he's so valuable. In 12,
that was deflected. Shot clock's down to 10. Transferred from St. Mary's and has totally elevated in Ames. Momcilovic was fouled. You can count it.
You're ready to shoot. His release is so good. Look at it's up. It's quick. All right, there is the clips of Lipsy. He's always got his eyes up. His hands are ready. They're just so aggressive.
It's like we say at NBC Sports, repeat your best.
Well, Tamin Lipsy is repeating what he does every possession right now.
Momcilovic! This is ridiculous! Maybe there's a circumstance where TJ Otzelberger takes a timeout as Lipsy pulls from three. He can't hit. Offensive rebound. Momcilovic drains it!
That's why he doesn't take a three.
Back inside Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you the Full-Time Fan by Modelo on a Fanatic Friday. Getting ready for the final Saturday in January. January just flew by. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Special thanks to Anthony Smith on the Big 12 studio side, crushing it with the graphs. It's graphs season for college basketball. But now we pivot to college football. Our transfer portal series tracking all the movement for Big 12 teams. The Houston Cougars is the team that we highlight today. Quietly went 10-3 last year. They went undefeated on the road for the first time in like a decade when they were in the American Conference and dominating that league for a stretch. Houston has a lot to be excited about for this upcoming season when you look at returners. They brought in 17 guys, 15 guys out. On3 has their team rankings 7th in the Big 12, I believe is what I saw. 24/7 has them like 10th in the Big 12. But when you look at the movement and the moves that they've made, what do you see?
Well, I mean, it helps a lot when you've got your key contributors returning. You know, I think in a lot of cases as we break down teams across the Big 12 and what they've done in the transfer portal, I mean, you're looking to fortify very important positions in the portal. Quarterback, wide receiver, running back, offensive line, defensive line, right? Like, whatever position you could think of need to be solidified for starting and important snaps across these teams. I think Houston's better positioned than lots of these other ones in terms of they didn't really need to go shopping for a ton of guys in the portal. Quarterback's a really good example of this. I mean, you've got two good options. Now, I don't know that Connor Wegman's going to be competing with Henderson, but you've got the number one quarterback in the nation coming in, Keyshawn Henderson, 5-star. We expect that Wegman's the starter and that after next season, Henderson becomes a starter, but I think Willie Fritz will give him the opportunity to win the job. You also have Michael Bishop coming on staff, who is his former high school coach, so there's just a ton of synergies there. Running back, Dean Connors is back. They did add Mekhi Hughes, who transfers in from Oregon, but spent time with Willie Fritz at Tulane before Oregon and, you know, was one of the best backs in the country at Tulane, Mekhi Hughes. So with Dean Connors returning, Amari Thomas is back at wide receiver, one of the top wide receivers of the Big 12. Plus they bring in Trent Walker from Oregon State, who's had 150 catches and 1,700 yards receiving the last 2 seasons. So when I look at this team, they like the most impactful transfers they've added, Boswell at center. They just didn't have as many holes to fill through the portal with starters needed as some of these other teams in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm. I love this team for this season. With Wegman back, with a lot of guys on defense back. Year 3 of Willie Fritz. For me, it starts up front with the offensive line and then Mekhi Hughes. Mekhi Hughes, the 2 years that he was with Willie Fritz at Tulane, 1,400 yards in 24, 1,300 yards in 23, 2-time first-team All-AAC. And then he was one of the most sought-after running backs in the portal last year. Signs a massive deal with Oregon, got paid on the high end of 6 figures, almost $1 million, to sit the bench. He couldn't crack the rotation in camp. Kind of had a falling out, if you're reading between the lines with Oregon. And he reunites with Coach Fritz at Houston. Hughes is a dude. Him and Connors together in the backfield. And so who's going to be blocking for him? Well, you brought up Boswell, the Toledo center, who started all 12 games, didn't allow a single sack, had 403 pass block snaps and only 6 pressures, anchored the offensive line in the MAC. And then Shadre Hurst, an offensive guard, transfers from Tulane, 2-time All-AAC first team. Pro Football Focus had him rated out as the number 6 graded guard in the nation and the number 9 overall offensive lineman. That is a massive addition for the Cougars on the line of scrimmage, protecting Wegman and opening holes for those backs.
Drew Terrell's another one they had from Miami of Ohio as a tackle. Started 12 games last year for Miami of Ohio with 700-plus snaps. So, again, those are important contributing factors to look at when it comes to, you know, success in the portal. And it feels like Houston sort of found its niche when it comes to the portal, especially along in the trenches, you know, where they're going to lose guys every year. But they're kind of that intermediate between Toledo, Tulane, Miami of Ohio, and the SEC or the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Houston's never going to be in the same pool as some of the top spenders in the Big 12 or the SEC or the Big Ten. So they're going to lose some of their best players every year to those schools, but they know that there's a constant force of players from the MAC, from the American, from other conferences at the group of 6 level that they can replenish, especially in the trenches. They've added experienced, impactful players in the portal and in the trenches. You'd hope over time they could keep some of these guys, but it feels like they're losing some of their most impactful guys in the trenches every year, but they're doing a really good job of replenishing that with experienced players and kind of being that intermediate, if you will, between the group of 6 and the Power 4.
Well, and when you try to break down their class, is it a net positive or a net negative? Again, you go to the rankings of like they had 15 guys leave and 17 guys come in. So of those 32, the top 10 players in terms of what they're rated according to 24/7 Sports, evaluating them now as we sit here today, the top 10 transfers are incoming guys. You have to go all the way down to number 11, Corey Platt Jr., who was a really good linebacker for them. He transfers out to Texas Tech. They lose an offensive lineman in Demetrius Hunter, who transfers out to Colorado. But with the guys they're bringing in, highlighted by Hughes, and then defensively, they add a defensive back, Javion White from Tulane, 61 tackles, 4 interceptions over the last couple of years. A big tight end, Patrick Overmeyer from UTSA, 8 touchdowns over the course of his career. He was UTSA's number 1 tight end. And then they bring in Demarion Thomas, who really flew under the radar during the portal season because he was all SEC 2 years ago at Vanderbilt. He was Vanderbilt's best defensive lineman. Well, he transferred to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, he was like their highest paid defensive guy after Wendell Gregory last year. But he only played in 4 games. He was one of the players that opted out the rest of the season to preserve his red shirt and be, have eligibility for this upcoming season. Houston lands him, a massive defensive tackle. I mean, he looks like Vince Wilfork out there. He's like 330 pounds. He's just a huge space-eating defensive tackle who doesn't get all the stats. He just clogs the middle. Like, I'm loving their class.
And, you mentioned some of the guys from Tulane, and whether it's, Makai Hughes, who was from Oregon, but previously at Tulane. I mean, there's a lot of guys here that, maybe stuck with Tulane after Fritz leaves, but that now another coaching change with Tulane's coach now going to Florida.
Yeah.
It just goes to show the difficulty of how, for these teams to maintain their rosters and coaches, it's so difficult. I mean, to think that Tulane has lost 2 coaches to Power 4 schools in the last 4 years, and all of the players that are going to transfer to Florida with John Summerall, all the players that have transferred with Willie Fritz over the last 2 years, it just goes to show you, I can't imagine anybody's left at Tulane that was recruited by Summerall or Willie Fritz at this point in time.
Right. They've been gutted. And Darian Mensah and the whole Duke thing, he was supposed to be their quarterback last year. They bring in Jake Retzloff as a kind of a stopgap, between quarterbacks, and that worked out really well for them. They made the college football playoff. The best thing that could have happened to Houston football this offseason was John Summerall getting the Florida job, because it left a whole plethora of talented guys who just played in the college football playoff on the market that had the connections that Houston lands. Javion White's a safety that I mentioned earlier. He's their second highest rated player in terms of where 24/7 has it. Makai Hughes is number 1 in terms of their most impactful incoming transfers. All of a sudden, this looks like a really complete football team.
So let me ask you this. Okay, so we've talked about the favorites heading into next season, which are going to be the top 3, which we'll get to next week. So we believe, I'm saying we, that Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah are the 3 favorites of the Big 12 next year, yes?
Texas Tech and BYU, yes.
Not Utah.
We haven't gotten to Utah's portal class yet. So just based off of the knowledge that I have from Whittingham, taking the Michigan job, taking a lot of his staff with him. Now, I know Devin Dampier is back, but if I was putting together a poll right now, and maybe it's recency bias, I think I'd have Houston number 3.
So that's where I was going with this. Is Houston, or Arizona for that matter, legitimately in this conversation?
And I love Arizona and what they have coming back next year, but I like Houston better.
Like, does Houston have a legit shot to win the Big 12 next year in your eyes?
No, because I think it's Texas Tech or BYU and everybody else. Like that's how much separation there was for me this season at the top with those two schools and what they have coming in next year. And we know what Texas Tech has done in the portal, even though we haven't broke them down entirely. BYU's got their entire team back. I know Jay Hill has gone to Michigan, but I think Papinga's going to step in, and their defense isn't going to miss a beat.
So you think it's Tech, BYU, and everybody else?
Yes, yes.
I don't disagree with that. For me, it's weird with Houston because it feels like they should be in that conversation. I just don't know about Weigman, and I'm curious because his second year within this offense, but a second year for defensive coordinators to have a full offseason to figure out how to take away his run game. I think if you force Weigman to be more of a thrower, he's less effective. Now, he was pretty good last year, but how legitimate is Keyshawn Henderson to be the starter? And, I mean, again, in a year in which the quarterback position was not great in the Big 12, Weigman wasn't really a part of that upper echelon of the Big 12 quarterbacks. Am I missing something there? But for them to be like legitimate Big 12 title contenders, they need to be really good at that position. Now, I know you could argue, well, Texas Tech wasn't this year, but it didn't matter because their defense and running backs were so good. Next year, I think Tech will be that good at quarterback, running back, and defense. Maybe not as good defensively as they were this past year, but that's a historically great defense.
Mm-hmm. What is the next step for Connor Weigman? Can he go from good to great or elite?
And that's the question. That is the question for Houston because everything else says they're ready to be Big 12 title contenders. I'm just a little bit reluctant to put them in the conversation because of Weigman.
So, statistically in the Big 12, I think this will surprise you. The number one quarterback returning in this league in efficiency, passing efficiency, is Brendan Sorsby. The number two returning quarterback in the Big 12 in passing efficiency is Connor Weigman.
Which is what?
He was fourth last year.
But what does passing efficiency mean?
Passing efficiency is the metric that takes into account touchdowns, your interceptions, your completion rate, all of those things that makes you an efficient quarterback. He was fifth in the conference in touchdowns last year. His completion percentage was top 3, behind only Baron Morton and Josh Hoover. Bear Bachmeier was fourth, by the way. So, and I don't disagree. On paper, he should be a dude, right, in the Big 12 next year. And Zion Chris, by the way, is transferred out. So there's the backup quarterback is transferred to Southern. It will be Connor Weigman's team, and it will be Keyshawn Henderson backing him up. Houston just didn't throw the ball a ton. You look at Weigman and his yards are towards the bottom of the conference, 7th, I should say, but they played in a bowl game.
Right, which for the second most efficient quarterback is interesting to be 7th in yards.
Right. So when he was passing the football, his numbers were pretty good, but I do think people think of him as a runner. He had 700 rushing yards. That was tops in the Big 12 among quarterbacks not named Devin Dampier, right? So he is very much a dual threat quarterback that should have a big year. For more on that, we'll chat with Joseph Duarte, the Houston Chronicle reporter. He is our Houston go-to guy, and he joins us after this timeout. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on the Big 12 Fast Channel, Big 12 Studios. Check out the top plays from Big 12 men's basketball starting five.
Houston has it taken away by Uzan. In the slam by Flemings, a 5-0 start. Now that's a recipe of disaster for Arizona State. Nice handle, Flemings driving, hangs and scores, plus a foul.
How about the split? Grant McCaslin talks about the fact that he has great feel, but he's really stretching this Houston defense. I don't think they counted on that.
Scooped up and in by Flemings. 1 of 2, got his miss. Flemings hits it.
Boy, that is crushing to let the shooter, nobody blocks out the shooter, and it turns into a 3.
On his own miss, and then Kingston Flemings calmly and coolly stepping into the... Uzan. Flemings one-on-one with Anderson. Hits a 3. What a big shot. Did the Cougars ever need that? Flemings driving on Atwell. Hits it. Boy, he is making them all right now.
This is a great block out by Tugler on JT Toppin to keep him from getting yet another offensive board.
Flemings, what a change of pace.
You would have thought they'd be up 15 instead of down 6.
Tied at 61. Not for long as Flemings does it again.
Well, you don't see Atwell miss catch and shoot opportunities like that. What a great pass by JT Toppin to find him.
Look at the handle on Flemings. Elevates and hits again. Unstoppable right now. Flemings. Wow. 35 now for Kingston Fleming.
Boy, Atwell changed everything in this game with those 2 threes.
Flemings gets to the rim again. Give him 38 on the afternoon.
It's Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, heard exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We welcome in Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle, part of our Transfer Portal Tracker series. We go through a different school every day, and today we highlight the Houston Cougars, 17 incoming transfers. Joseph, good morning. Are you staying warm today?
I'm I'm home. That's the key. I had an extended stay in Lubbock because of the snow, and then just got back from Fort Worth. So yeah, I'm warm, but I'm stationary right now.
Yeah. So were you like the team stuck in Lubbock until you went to Fort Worth? Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, I was worse than the team. They got out on Sunday night. I had to stay till Monday.
Wow.
So I was there. I don't know what the estimates were. It looked like about 8 inches of snow outside my hotel room. The pool had frozen over, so I was just glad to get out. And then I flew into Dallas and had a delay there, so it was close to Tuesday on the clock by the time I got home.
Wow, that's a week, man. That is a week. All right, when it comes to Houston football and their transfer portal offseason, what's your overall take on the class that Willie Fritz has brought in?
Filling needs. I thought last year, they did a superb job because of the guys that they got. They got Wegman and Koziel and Dean Connors, and it all added up to a 10-win season. And this year, while there was some needs, it wasn't as big as it was going from year 1 to year 2. They've got a lot of guys returning, but I thought, the 17 were exactly, and that's what it is this time of year, guys. You've got to specifically hit your target, and with only one portal now window, you've got to make it count and make it work. And I think that's what they did. They filled the needs that they did and they needed, and now they can start kind of integrating everything with spring ball. But I thought it was a really good class.
Yeah, it's interesting as we've done this series across the entire Big 12. You look at a lot of teams that are trying to solidify multiple positions and starting positions through the portal. It feels like the trenches might be different, but in most areas that Houston really has one of their top players from last year returning. So they're kind of ahead of everybody else in that regard, it feels like.
Yeah, and it's kind of the complementary players. Wigman announced before the bowl he was coming back. Then you had Amari Thomas was the key.
Yeah.
You had to get him back. So you get a guy that almost had 1,000 yards. So those two are there. You get a running back, and that's Mekhi Hughes, who Willie Fritz is very familiar with from at Tulane. 2,000-yard seasons, kind of dropped off the depth chart at Oregon in his 1 year there. So you plug that in, and then you look around him, and you get Trent Walker. I think that's another key one. He's a wide receiver. He'll slide in as the number 2, in my opinion. And this is a guy who's got over 100 catches and close to 2,000 yards the last few years. So right there, those are your skill positions. And then, oh, by the way, they like Patrick Overmeyer. He's a tight end from UTSA. They think he could be NFL potential, and he'll slide in and have to fill those big shoes from Koziel. So you get all the skill guys done, and like you said, the trenches. That's where it matters. They had 5 guys on the O-line that they brought in last year. They brought in 3 this year that are going to be starters. They've got Drew Terrell, who I think will be a right tackle. You got Anthony Boswell, who I think will be the center. And then the big one is the guard, Shadre Hurst from Tulane. He can sort of play guard or center, but I've already seen that guy on some potential All-American lists for next season. So that's a huge pickup, when you're talking about in the trenches and beefing up that O-line. Because Willie Fritz said they needed to get bigger. They had to be Big 12 big, and I think they started to work on that this offseason.
Was the offensive line that bad last year? And like, how many guys are returning for this upcoming season?
No, it wasn't bad. It's just it was thin, and it was, and I mean in depth wise, not size. They were a little light too, but compared to previous years, that could have been what's one of the great O lines in NFL history compared to those past years. That you could have made a case jokingly, but they bring back the left tackle Alvin Ibasile. And then they have Mackenzie Agnella, who will probably slide into left guard if they don't flip Hurst and do some stuff. And then they lost Demetrius Hunter, who was the center the last few years. He just left the team at the end of the regular season. So they were bringing back 2 guys that started a good number of games. So it'll be three new starters and those 2 presumably.
What's interesting about the trenches specifically is, it feels like they found this sweet spot where, they're not going to compete with the Texas Techs or the BYUs from a money standpoint, or even SEC or Big Ten schools. So they're going to lose some of those guys. But like finding impactful players from Toledo or Miami of Ohio, that seems to be the sweet spot, especially when it comes to the offensive line.
It is, and you're right. You're priced out on some of the guys that were either 5 stars come out of high school and they want to change, and they essentially jump from Ohio State to Texas or something like that.
Right.
With these guys, you're still getting value for your buck, and there's no knock on against these guys. It's just they started, whether it was in the MAC or wherever, but they come in and they do a really good job. You look at this past year. Abasala, yes, he was at Baylor, but he came home, and this was a good situation for him. It's all about fit sometimes. And when these guys get into a situation, Wegman had needed a reset, came home, look at the year he had. So it's just finding that right balance that I think it outweighs, just saying you got to get somebody from LSU to transfer in or something like that. These Miami, Ohio, Toledo guys, they were all conference there. They're good players. It's just sometimes it's a better fit for them to come somewhere, and that place happened to be Houston for a few of them.
Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicles with us here on Big 12 today. I don't think people remember how good Mekhi Hughes was at Tulane in 24 and 23 when he was first team, 2-time All-AAC when Willie Fritz was at Tulane. Do you know, is there any context you can add in terms of why he couldn't get on the field at Oregon? Was there a falling out? And then just kind of remind people of how good he was when he was at Tulane.
Well, the last part, really good at Tulane. Willie has his offense, and he likes to run the ball, and it seemed like that guy was the perfect fit for what they did. I think he was just there. Willie had him for 1 year, and then Willie came to Houston. But, this is a guy who I think he was at 1,400 yards 1 year, or close to 1,200 another, 22 total touchdowns. So he's a production guy. He is a bell cow, run the ball with him, 20-plus times a game, that kind of guy. As far as Oregon, my understanding was I think it was pretty set early in the season that he was going to take the red shirt, or he was going to only play those 4, and it was a numbers game. I don't feel like there was any falling out or anything like that. I just think he couldn't crack the depth chart, and it looked like, and that's a team that went to the college football playoff semifinals, over in Oregon. So it was a matter of not being able to get on the field behind some guys, and when it came time to look for another destination, Houston kicked the tires with a few other guys, namely the running back from Jacksonville State, who had a big year. But in the end, Willie had that connection, and he knows what he's getting, and that's why that works here in Houston, or hopefully will work in Houston.
You get any sense that Keyshawn Henderson will be competing for the starting job, or is it Wegmans?
It's Wegmans. I think you'll see Henderson on the field in some capacity because, the days of the whole bringing freshmen in a redshirt, those are over because you never know what could happen. Not that they would lose him or anything, but they're going to get him on the field. I think Wegman serves as this mentor kind of guidance to bridge this year and next year. Keyshawn Henderson is your starter for the 2027 opener against LSU. I can say that. But I think next year you just figure out how you can use him because he's such a great talent. And on top of him, they got Paris Melvin coming in. This kid is going to play offense, defense, and special teams. That's how good he is. So that'll be fun to watch. So they're going to get these freshmen in there. It's just a matter of, how much and when and kind of go from there.
Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle, Houston basketball, before we let you go. They took care of business at TCU after the loss to Texas Tech. Kingston Flemings just continues to shine. They've got Cincinnati tomorrow at home. Where do you see Houston and their potential seed line? I'm seeing them as maybe a 2, maybe even a 3 seed if the NCAA tournament started today, which to me is just crazy with their body of work.
Yeah, I think they were 9 in the net and 6 quad 1 wins. We'll know everything we need to know after that stretch coming up where they go. They get BYU earlier in February, but then they go at Iowa State, home against Arizona, and at Kansas. That's 3 games in 9 days, I believe. So, but you're right. I saw them on the 2-3 line. To me, I don't even know if the number one seed matters. They just want to be in the South Regional. That's in Houston. You could be a 2 or 3 in the South. I've seen that happen in some of the mocks. So I think that's what it comes down to. Would you like to be a number 1 seed? Yeah, it'd be great. But would you take a number 1 in the Midwest or the East possibly, or the West? Or would you rather be, if you're not a number 1, be a 2 or 3 in your hometown, which those games are going to be played like a mile and a half from campus. So it'll be interesting to see. But we'll know more here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so the South region, that would be the Sweet 16.
In Toyota. The second weekend.
Okay, Sweet 16 and Elite 8 games, which they already played a non-conference game at the Toyota Center where the Rockets play. Yeah, that would be huge.
And the way that works, they relinquish their host duty responsibilities to Rice. And by doing that, you become eligible to play in a regional in your own city. So, it could happen. It's just they sort of set it up that way where if the possibility was there, they could take advantage. And hey, guys, since you guys are doing the tracker for football, I'd be remiss not to throw 2 names out at you. They got the edge rusher from Oregon, Ashton Parker. They're real high on him. And I'd keep an eye on Jalen Mayo. He's going to be one of the corners, and he was big at Stephen F. Austin, has a connection with one of the new coaching hires, Marcus Trice. They like those 2 guys on the defensive side a lot.
Awesome.
Really good stuff, man. Joseph Duarte, a lot of exciting things happening at Houston. Appreciate your time, Joseph. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Take care. Thank you, Jay.
Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle, Great insight on Houston's recruiting class. Two names that we kind of glossed over when we were looking at some of their big additions. Two defensive guys, an edge rusher from Oregon, and then a defensive back that they brought in from Stephen F. Austin, who was one of the best FCS players in the secondary, headed to Houston. We've got Spencer Linton, host of BYU Sports Nation, coming up here in about 20 minutes. But coming up next, the BYU at Kansas game tomorrow. ESPN Game Day. You can hear it right here on Big 12 Radio. It's an NBA draft preview, and we'll play Take Your Pick around the corner. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio, heard on TuneIn.
Check out the top plays from the Big 12 men's basketball starting five.
He backs it down on Fowler. Works around him with a left hand, lays it up and scores. And a nice start here for TCU, which has traditionally been a slow starting team this year. Frogs up 4. Push here for Curry. It's out of bounds. Off of Oklahoma State. Another Harding. Edmonds again. Works on Vukovic. Edmonds was not going to be denied there. 3-point game now.
Williams is actually shooting the three, but when he does, he's extremely efficient.
He's got 8 points, offensive rebound, and a hoop and harm for Edmonds.
We've seen a lot of good things, and typically Baylor is the team that attacks the offensive glass with aggression, but Edmonds not backing down at all.
Edwards' first block of the game for him. Harding, 15-footer. Offensive board. And the X-Man, Xavier Edmonds, cleans the glass and puts back 2. Is that now?
I don't think they called this on.
No, they called it on Isaac Williams.
Williams.
The way TCU is playing, so headstrong, so tough, so smart. Oh, a bad foul by Powell, and a great finish for Xavier Edmonds.
You empty out the corner, no backside tag. Bad things happen.
Harding with the basketball like a yo-yo just inside half court. The Iowa transfer. Wow, what a backdoor cut and pass.
Have a backside tag, but Skillings doesn't get over, and when he tries to get over, it's too late.
Check out the top plays from the Big 12 men's basketball
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Brought to you by Modelo, where off-season optimism is mandatory. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling.
Just trying to stay warm here. Sorry.
Can you dance? Are you a dancer?
Can I dance?
Can you dance?
Yes.
You can. Actually?
Do you not see my moves, James?
I see them, but come on. Come on. Those are like entry-level moves. I'm talking executive.
Well, I'm sitting in a chair. I'm entry-level moves. What do you want me to do? Get up on the top of the chair and start?
Yeah, you strike me as a guy who may have some dancing skills.
Yeah.
He can dance.
This
man can dance.
John Travolta, Michael Jackson, Ari Temkin.
Okay.
It's that three. That's the big three.
That sounds right. You know, Chancellor Johnson challenged us to a TikTok dance-off.
He did.
For Big 12 Basketball Media Days.
I've been working on my moves. You and I need to come up with some sort of choreographed
set. Yes, I'm here for it.
Chancellor won't know what hit him.
Well, I made the mistake of searching, like, dance on Instagram. Now my algorithm is just flooded with, like, dance instructional videos. We'll be ready.
We gotta do like a two-man dance team.
Two-man dance. We'd crush it.
Bring like the linoleum floor with us. Put it down and just like go. Let's go.
Could you imagine? We'd set that stage on.
Can you dance?
Fire.
You can dance. You don't strike me as a guy that can dance.
No.
Yeah.
No, but I'm going to be ready, bro. I'm going to be so ready.
Just don't be so stiff. I feel like you're always so like
what?
Stiff.
What are you talking about, dude?
Loosen up. That's all I'm saying.
What? Physically, mentally, everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
I mean, I'm sitting very casually. I'm not like stiff. I'm so chill, bro. So chill. All right, Bill Self is chill because he knows just how good his Kansas basketball team is playing. They've got a huge game tomorrow. There's going to be a billion NBA scouts there to watch A.J. Bonsa, not just him and Peterson, but also Richie Saunders, Rob Wright. Melvin Council could be a pro. With his length and athleticism, he could be a point guard at the next level. So first, is Darren Peterson playing? Number one. Here's what Bill Self said about that.
Yeah, I expect him to. I haven't seen him in person since Tuesday. So yesterday was a day off, and then we were getting ready to obviously practice right after this. But I anticipate him being ready to go.
Haven't seen him in person. That's a little weird, but he expects him to be ready to go. But also want to get your thoughts on what Bill Self said about how well he really knows his team with the Peterson stuff in and out.
I think I know what 80% of it is. You know, just how the other 20% fits in with the other four guys. You know, don't really know that yet. I thought we got a pretty good sample size, you know, in the Baylor and the Iowa State game, which was very, very encouraging. But then we haven't had that since then. So I think the guys have done a good job of playing, not knowing really what it's going to be like the next game. I think they've done a good job with that. But the reality of it is, you know, to your point, Vahe, the question is, what do you really know about your guys in this and that? I'd say I feel totally comfortable with my team, but I don't see exactly everything I will see with my team after we've been together and actually gone through some stuff for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And hopefully that, you know, that's all starting right now.
Okay, that's a really interesting comment there. So there's multiple things to react to there. The first part was the 80-20, which I don't even totally understand what he was saying. Do you get that?
No.
Can we replay that? Just the front end of it. Let's hear this again, because that caught my ear.
About your guys in this and that. I'd say I feel totally comfortable with my team, but I don't see exactly everything I will see with my team after we've been together and actually gone through some stuff for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. And hopefully that, you know, that's all starting right now.
That was the end. Do we have the beginning of that again?
I think I know what 80% of it is. Yeah. You know, just how the other 20% fits in with the other four guys. You know,
okay, stop it. What does that mean?
The other 20% is Peterson. How does he fit in with the other guys? When Peterson's not on the floor, You've got 5 guys on the floor. He knows about 4 of them, and the 5th guy is Peterson, but he's only on the floor. He's 20% of those of that piece. So that sounds
but it's not 20%, right? So we could argue about semantics here, but it's really like it's either all or nothing.
Right.
So it sounds like, 80%, that's pretty good. No, it's nothing to do with it. Because the 20% is the whole thing. Right?
Definitely.
And then he mentions, as you get further along in that clip, about how, those guys have really handled the situation of not knowing what it's going to look like game to game really well. I argued, early on the season that's a huge problem long term. KU's playing its best basketball of the season right now because of the mix between knowing how to play and not knowing how to play, but don't think this Darren Peterson story is going away.
Right. Unless he starts playing 30, 35 minutes.
It will come up again. He's not going to. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's had a host of maladies across the entire season. Cramps, quad, hamstring, now ankle. It's not going away. So it's really interesting word salad there from Bill, and he's managed to manage the situation about as well as he could so far. But the 80-20 thing, I caught my ear and was like, huh? But you're exactly right. Like, basically what he's saying is, yeah, like 4 of my 5 starters know what they need to do, and I know what I'm going to get out of them. But the whole thing is how they play, how those 4 guys play with the 5th guy is totally different.
Right.
So you really don't know.
Who is the guy? Who starts when Peterson? Well, I guess Peterson has started every game that he's been available for. Would the next guy be Elmarko Jackson, or is it Jamari McDowell? Those are the 2 that came to mind for me that are probably on the floor the most when Peterson's not.
Yeah, or Cole Rosario, but he's sort of out of the rotation now at this point in time. So, yeah, I think those 2 you've identified are probably...
And McDowell had by far the best plus-minus in the Iowa State game. He's been Elmarko Jackson, had a really good game against Colorado. Like, those guys are very capable. It's just how many minutes are they going to play? Now,
in the Kansas State game, it was McDowell that started.
Okay.
But Elmarko Jackson played 27 minutes to Jamari McDowell's 23.
So there you go. There's your 40. There's your 40 minutes between the 2 of them. I would say that the way Bill Self was talking about not knowing what we have tells me that Darren Peterson he's not full go at practice either. Like Bill Self said, which is a little bit odd to me because I swear that he said he's practicing like nothing's wrong maybe that was a month ago or so, or it led me to believe that he's practicing 100% every day. But that comment there tells me he's not. Otherwise, you would know what you have. You just don't have him on Saturdays.
Well, remember,
or
he missed the K-State game because he turned his ankle.
Right. Bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
All right, on the flip side, here's what Kevin...
Look, I think this all to say, like, I don't think Kansas is a legit national title contender. I don't. And I don't because every time people discuss Kansas as a title contender, the caveat is always inserted of pending health of Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but that's wishing at this point in time, right? You're wishing to see something you haven't yet seen.
Totally.
So if we haven't seen it for a sustained period of time, what's the belief that it could happen? I think you have to realistically look at this and say, do we really think that this guy that's not been healthy all year, has not played full-on minutes all year, is going to suddenly at the end of the year be at that spot? I would love to see it. That would be amazing. Hard to believe, though.
So I just pulled up his game log. How many minutes he played against Iowa State, but he only played 27 minutes. So even like KU's biggest games that he's been available for, he still hasn't started and finished the game with his normal allotment.
No, the difference is Kansas is playing better without him.
Yeah.
You know, they started with 2 losses in Big 12 play because they couldn't play defense and struggled on offense. Now they figured out how to play defensively, and some of the offense is coming around.
Right. On the flip side, here's what Kevin Young said about his BYU team not yet reaching their ceiling.
people are learning. I think AJ's learning. I think Rob's learning how to play with this group. I think Beto was unreal in practice the last 2 days.
Yeah.
He's learning. I mean, the young man hadn't played really in 8 months. He's getting in shape. He can be a real X factor for us. Our guest tonight, Alexei. I mean, so I think that there's a lot of things to be excited about, and I don't even think we're anywhere near our ceiling.
So I agree with some of that in terms of guys that are starting to see the floor on a more regular basis, like Xavion Staten, the big that they have on the inside. He's played in 9 games, and he's only averaging on paper 5 minutes per game, but he's starting to log more minutes. So is Kadeem Boop. So is Kostic. And who is he talking about there? Was he talking about Boscovich?
Yeah.
Another guy who's playing 12 or 13 minutes per game, starting to see more minutes and be productive. But to me, it still comes down to their big three, like Debonsa, Saunders, and Wright, because Dawson Baker's your 4th leading scorer, but he's only played in 6 games and he's out for the year. Kennard Davis was a name that Norm Roberts brought up that could be that extra juice if the shots start falling for him. He's a 32% three-point shooter, but there's been a major uptick in his production for BYU.
I think this game tomorrow between BYU and Kansas will be really interesting from a scout's perspective because of Debonsa, who's coming off arguably his worst game of the season, where he shot just 6 of 24 and 1 of 8 from 3. He's had games with lower output, including the Texas Tech game early in 13, but he took 24 shots and only hit 6 of them against Arizona, whereas the Utah game, he scored 43 and hit 15 of 24. So he went from 62% on 24 shots to 25% on 24 shots. Utah's defense not nearly as good as Arizona's defense, obviously, and Utah's defense not nearly as good as Kansas's. Kansas is one of the best defenses in the Big 12. So how Kansas decides to match up with Debonsa and what they do to him will play big in terms of the scouts. I expect him to have a bounce back. I don't expect him to shoot 25% from the floor. Some of those were just straight-on misses. Mm-hmm. But it would be really interesting to see how scouts evaluate his performance against Kansas' defense.
Yeah, to me, I think he's poised for a monster game because KU has a rim protector in Badunga, but in terms of guarding him one-on-one in the mid-range where he's most comfortable, that's where Debonsa creates some major mismatch problems for Kansas's defense. And then you've got Richie Saunders, the sharpshooter. I expect a high-scoring game. I think this is going to be back and forth. Darren Peterson expected to go and be 100%. This is a huge stage, like the primetime afternoon ESPN slot for him to go off. To me, both guys are over 20, close to 30 in this one tomorrow afternoon.
Well, and I think you also, Debonsa's 6'9", right? So it's a tough ask for any guard. But Council's a bigger guard. I think that's why their defense has been so effective, because he's not a 6', 6'1" guard. So I think, the matchup with Council and Debonsa, if that's what they go with, will be interesting. And then, if you funnel things inside, like Badunga's so good at erasing things at the rim. That's what makes Kansas's defense so good.
Well, and Kansas brought in a guy like Council as a direct result of what Rob Wright did to them in Waco last year when he just went bananas. And Kansas didn't have anybody that could stop him. And Council is that long, rangier guard that could slow him down on the defensive end of the floor. All right, Spencer Linton, the host of BYU Sports Nation, will join us coming up after this commercial break. Then we've got the final whistle to wrap up the show. He's Ari, I'm James. We're talking BYU and KU coming up around the corner, exclusively on TuneIn and on Big 12 Studios.
Johnson.
Here are the top plays from this week's Newcomer of the Week.
He knows this rivalry well as anybody. Dibanza between the legs, a little spin cycle and pivot. Utes have missed their first 5 shots. Brown steps through and it's blocked by Dibanza. The outlet. Davis with the kick out to right for 3.
When he's involved offensively, you guys go from good to almost unbeatable. He agrees. In their only 2 losses, Keba has not been involved.
Dibanza steps through and finishes.
Different Keanu Dawes early in this one. I think he had a nice pep talk from Alex Jensen.
A lot of whistles, and this time it falls.
To me, he's a step too far removed from the shooters.
Now Dibanza, it looked like pretty good defense from Okonkwo, but what can he could do? They switch. Dibanza shoves, no whistle, and a finger roll in, and he is fired up. Early moments of the second half. Short. Dibanza, head of steam. Dibanza, Euros his way. Count it. McHenry. The kick out to Dawes. He can't hold on to it, and it's turned over. Saunders. Earthquake! Dibanza. No, never hit iron. 4 the shot clock. Loose ball. They got to put it up. Oh, and they do! It's a 2-hand stuff.
As a program and as a university does not do any on-court activities on Sunday because of their faith. That means that the Arizona's coming into town.
Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Spencer with the introduction for himself. Spencer Linton, host of BYU Sports Nation, joins us on the program to preview BYU and Kansas. Hey, Spencer, good morning.
Ari and James, always good to be with you guys. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well. We just played some audio from Kevin Young, and he was basically saying that BYU hasn't reached its ceiling, that guys off the bench are starting to hit their stride and play more minutes. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Yes, and that was why he was so frustrated when I was doing my post-game interview with him following the Monday night game against Arizona, is because he knows what his team is capable of. And while BYU did make a furious rally in that game, officials aided, mind you, but still a furious rally, and end up falling just short. Sure, the score looks better, but he said, we just made so many mistakes. And some of them were Arizona generated, no doubt about it. And specifically, he said, they make you foul them a lot. And that's something we have to work on. But he said, I felt like so many of our mistakes were self-inflicted, that didn't necessarily have anything to do with because it was number 1 ranked Arizona, but because we just didn't execute. And that's really, really frustrating and hard to get over. And so then he went into the ceiling conversation with me where he said, I don't think we're anywhere near what we could be and should be, and at times that we have shown this season. So interesting to hear that, because BYU is still a top 15 team and feature one of the top 2 players in the country and a projected maybe number 1 and number 2 NBA draft pick. So yeah, that's fascinating terminology, because they're still a good team. He just believes that they are legitimately Final Four caliber, and feels like they should be maybe a little bit further advanced down the line at this juncture of the season. But do you remember, this is about the time where BYU went absolutely nuclear last year and got red hot, and then rattled off 9 straight wins, including a win at Arizona and a win at Iowa State, and destroyed Kansas. And so maybe this is a turning point for BYU to feel that frustration against Arizona and spark something special for the remainder of the Big 12 stretch.
Yeah, AJ's coming off his worst game of the year, you could argue, based on just shooting percentages, following his best game of the year against Utah, where he scored 43. what do you look at in their last game against Arizona where AJ struggled?
Yeah, I saw AJ do some uncharacteristic things against Arizona because the shot wasn't dropping and because of the juxtaposition of having everything go right against Utah, and then it was really difficult to find any type of consistency and rhythm against Arizona. So what I mean by that is I thought he was hunting his shot at times more than I've ever seen him do that. That's not his game. It's not typically who he is as a player. He's an incredibly unselfish player and great passer, and he loves to get after the glass and be a complete player. But I think he was just trying to force the lid open at the hoop a couple of times and rip it off so that he saw something go down and to try and create some rhythm. So essentially trying to expedite him shooting himself out of the game slump, and it just didn't happen. So the 6 for 24 is a tough number. Now, what's encouraging, and I got this from his dad, Ace, was he said, in a roundabout way, summarizing it, look, he played like garbage, and BYU still only lost by 3. So I think he's going to be just fine, and I tend to agree. I don't think AJ is going to get in that mode very often because it just hasn't happened a ton. And I thought that he was pressing, and he's an incredibly mature player and so smart and cerebral. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. He's very intellectual as a basketball player, and he knew it. He knew that maybe he reached a little bit against Arizona when it wasn't working for him, and he'll learn from that. And I'm excited to see how he uses this as motivation to come out and attack and get at the rim and bounce back against a really good Kansas team and what's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere at Allen Fieldhouse tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the point about he played like garbage and it was still almost a win for BYU is a really good one. With that said, what do you think is the biggest key to the game for BYU tomorrow in Allen Fieldhouse?
Anytime you're in a big-time road environment, you just have to be able to limit the crowd craziness and then have your silencers. And so twofold for me. One, you can't have unforced turnovers, and BYU had too many of those against Arizona on their home floor. If you do that on the road and you allow a crowd to get going absolutely bonkers, you're in big trouble. So BYU absolutely has to limit the unforced errors and take care of the basketball. In the first half against Arizona, they were really loose with the basketball, and that's why they trailed by 13. So can BYU limit the momentum, emotional swinging plays, the live ball turnovers that result in a fast break dunk or a big 3 for Kansas? Like, limit those type of plays to try and mitigate what Allen Fieldhouse is going to be, because that crowd is going to be so anxious to lose its mind collectively tomorrow against a BYU team that has won both games against Kansas in the Big 12. And one of the weirder stats in Big 12 play, BYU was 0-2 against Kansas in football and 2-0 against the Jayhawks in basketball. So I don't know why it's that way, but it is.
That's wild.
But you got to limit that crowd because they know that they haven't gotten the better of BYU now in the first couple of seasons. And the second is you have to have clutch shot making. I always am impressed with teams that have the ability to answer back, and especially on the road. Now, here's why I'm confident, because BYU has 3 guys that want to take that shot and make that shot when their team needs it the most in a hostile environment. It's not just AJ, it's Rob Wright III, and it's Richie Saunders as well. Any 3 of those guys want the ball in their hands that moment in a pressure-packed, high-intensity situation. And so because BYU has 3 proven guys to do that, I like their ability to answer back and hit a clutch 3 right after Kansas has a big play on the other end of the floor to immediately bring that crowd back down. So I think those 2 things are critical. And then Kevin Young will always tell you, rebound, rebound, rebound. That is his number one thing. Like, we have to win the rebounding battle in the Big 12. We can be physical If you do that, you get after it on the offensive glass. If you win that overall rebounding number, more rebounds equal more possessions equal more shots. It's pretty simple math, and he's a big proponent of that.
Spencer, what do you think is the biggest flaw for BYU basketball right now?
Oh, man, that's a great question because they do so many things well. I tend to lean toward BYU's lack of bench production, or even it's not even bench. It's more role player production. I think BYU would greatly benefit if they could figure out a way to, not necessarily just in points, but in ways that the players can impact the game. If they could implement Keba Keita, and if Kennard Davis, he had 5 3-pointers against Arizona, and BYU needed every one of them to get back in the game. But before that, he was 2 for his last 22. He had gone missing on the offense, and Keba Keita has been very limited in his offensive capabilities. Where's the bench scoring going to come from? Is it Mihailo Boskovic? Is it Alexei Kostic? Can these guys come off the bench and give some meaningful minutes? Hadim Boop, to get some buckets. Like I would like to see less reliance on the big three, especially in this critical stretch with games against Kansas and Iowa State and Houston and another game at Arizona. And then you got Texas Tech still coming to Provo in early March. I feel like BYU is going to need more than just the big three going nuts, because as we saw on Monday, if your big three don't show up, you have to have somebody else. And thankfully for BYU, it was Kennard Davis with his 5 threes and Alexei Kostic knocking a couple of down. That's why BYU got back in the game. So that was a fun little twist to see. But I just think that they need more consistent play from role players, scoring a few more buckets and then making those impact plays. That's probably the biggest knock on BYU, is that they're not as deep, not nearly as deep as they were last year. And Kevin Young's ability to go to the bench.
Are those the two guys, talking with Spencer Linton from BYU Sports Nation, Davis and Kostic, are those the two guys most likely to give them that spark and be that fourth guy, or is it somebody else?
Well, it feels like they had the easiest path to do it from the three-point line, and BYU, because they have so many players that can get to any spot they want on the floor, essentially, like that will open up the three-point line. And so it feels like they have the easiest path to do that. And it could happen without BYU trying to do something entirely different. But I would like to see Keba Keita get involved at the rim more often. I know that they like to go to him on the lob, and the alley-oop is a fun, exciting play for him, but I do think he's a capable scorer with his physicality and his ability to elevate and his jumping ability around the rim. So it's not just, rim running alley-oop dunks for him. But if BYU needs a bucket inside and a physical putback on the offensive glass, like, he is that guy. So I'd like to see the 3-point shot from Kostic and Kennard Davis, but any way BYU can get Keba to get into attack mode as a rebounder, the putback guy, the dunk guy, those are immediate lift plays for the team when he goes and grabs an offensive rebound and then sticks it right back for an important 2. So that's kind of where I would lean in that conversation.
We're talking with Spencer Linton here. BYU TV also does great work for the Big 12 studios and ESPN. In fact, were you leading the Big 12 softball media days session?
Yes, I was. And I had a couple of my friends send me a message like, "Hey, why are you on the desk with softball royalty? You have no business being there." I get it. Kat Osterman is an all-timer, 3-time player of the year, Olympic gold medalist, one of the greatest pitchers in the history of the sport. What's Spencer doing there? But I've called the sport for 12, coming up on 13 years. Love the Olympic sports and women's sports in the Big 12, and got the call from the folks at Big 12 HQ to host that 2-day event. And so really, really cool opportunity to talk with Kat and Rachel Becker and and then talk with each of the coaches and some of their dynamic duos and preview what should be a really entertaining season with Texas Tech as a heavy national championship favorite.
Yeah, well said. And you did a great job. I got to catch some of that coverage, including your conversation with Jerry Glasgow. So great work there. And I'm pretty sure people can go back and watch through all of it on the Big 12 Conference YouTube channel and where else you get Big 12 Studios.
Absolutely. You can find it streaming on demand, ESPN Plus, Big 12's Fast channel, like you said. Even BYU TV is streaming it as well.
Nice.
In the partnership there. So, yeah, if you'd like. And you bring up a great point. Jerry Glasgow, he pulled back the curtain a lot on the rise of Texas Tech sports in Lubbock and how that's going down and how the sausage is made. And some people are like, he's probably saying too much, but I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah, very, very much so. Last thing for me, Spencer, you tweeted this a couple of days ago on your short list of wants for college football. We've talked about this before. The creation of a net ranking. We have a lot of different net rankings for college basketball. We have nothing for college football. I love the breakdown that you did with the quad system and that translating to that sport on the gridiron.
I think it would just give us immediate context and evaluating someone's schedule and like what they've actually done. Do they actually belong and deserve, and how much quality is there? And I use the Massey ratings as the base index because the Massey rating has a bunch of analytics already pulled into it. But if you want to throw in some others, I'm not opposed to that either. You know, the BCS formula combined with the Massey rating, and I know some people were clamoring for ESPN's Football Power Index. I kind of tend to stay away from that one because it brings in last year's recruiting rankings, and that one gets a little convoluted. But I'm open to discussion of using however many power rating systems you want and a combination of such. I just think the sport needs it desperately so that the ideas of one conference is clearly better than the other. It's like, well, let's take a look at all of the teams in that conference and see where they fall in this net ranking. And then it gives you a more complete picture of what is actually going on in college football,
Spencer,
and who actually has quality. So I think it's long overdue. And we're smart enough, clearly, with the basketball setup, to be able to do this in football as well, and bring in a metric and an analytic that needs to be involved in Selection Sunday. And I'll add this: get rid of the stupid reveal shows in early November. Just do one show, make it Selection Sunday in football, just like they do in basketball. Mm-hmm. If you're in, you're in. You're out, you're out. Don't set these expectations and give these teams ideas like oh, you're in now. You know, then you eliminate so much of the unnecessary drama. So net ranking, one Selection Sunday show, it would be a huge start, guys.
Spence, I would submit to you that the ratings that exist for a specific reason, because I'm glad you brought up the FPI, but many of the ratings that they reference include previous year's recruiting rankings for a very specific reason, I can imagine. And that would be to highlight one of the conferences, certainly, because the SEC has a significant leg up when it comes to recruiting rankings.
No doubt about it. It is like it's probably a pipe dream, but it feels
no. I love it.
Unfair.
Keep bringing it up because we need to keep mentioning how absurd it is, and that because when I looked at this last year, every metric that they were looking at had recruiting rankings in it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what? Why?
It's ridiculous. It really is. It's an outdated formula. It's like RPI was in men's basketball.
Right.
Like, do we miss RPI, you guys? No. Burn that thing to the ground. My gosh. Like, the net ranking is such an upgrade from that. And so, like, this recruiting ranking business is like, this is like the RPI. It's so outdated and old and dumb. It's irrelevant with the transfer portal and, like, NIL, and it just it makes no sense to keep weighing heavily on those specific type of metrics.
Mm-hmm. Yep, completely agree. Awesome stuff. Spencer Linton from BYU Sports Nation, BYU Sports TV, joining us here on Big 12 today. Spencer, great to catch up as always. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Spence.
You guys are the best. We'll do it again soon.
All right, man. Spencer Linton, host of BYU Sports Nation. He was the guy hosting the Big 12 softball media days And he joins us here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios. We wrap up the show coming up next. Artie and James here on Big 12 Today, brought to you by Modelo here on TuneIn.
Here are the top plays from this week's Player of the Week.
To shoot, Toppin down low. Couple of thunderous dribbles. Contact, a whistle, +1. Less than 3 to play in this first half. Toppin against Carr, one-on-one. Turns him around and throws it in. 6 minutes into this second half. Toppin in the lane. That's money for JT Toppin when he gets in that deep. He's got 11 points in 15 minutes tonight. Toppin banging with Ratai with the left, in, and one.
This is where you make your push.
It's Toppin time underneath. That time he gets the roll.
Jalen Petty, the freshman who moved into the starting lineup 8 games ago. He had 20 in the game against the Cougars. The left-handed reverse for the left-hander in JT Toppin.
Well, both these teams are so good. If they can't grab it, they will tip it to a teammate, especially back tips on offensive rebounds.
Anderson, no. Toppin, yes!
With the right hand, you talk about relentless. You look it up in the dictionary, and JT Toppin's picture.
Anderson, one of 3 Red Raiders who has not come off the floor yet in this game. Toppin, another one, and he'll score with the right to extend the lead. He is a star. 19 points, 4 assists already in the game for Flemings. Toppin gets free and one. Ball out on the perimeter for the entirety of this possession. Now Anderson gets into the paint. What a pass to Toppin.
I'm here on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Exclusively on TuneIn, watched on Big 12 Studios. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. Freezing our tails off this morning in our Big 12 Studios headquarters. Big 12 Radio headquarters and studios. Radio, studios, TV, radio. We're doing both. But it's quite chilly in here. So Monday we'll be more prepared for that, I would say. And we'll see, Ari, if Darren Peterson is prepared for the KU BYU game tomorrow. That's ESPN Game Day, right?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. ESPN Game Day. Games at 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock BYU time, and you can hear it right here on Big 12 Radio. So, little take your pick. Taman, write these down because I want to see how many Ari gets right over the weekend. We'll circle back on Monday.
Ooh, okay.
Peterson versus DeBonsa.
It is DeBonsa, yes.
It's DeBonsa.
Not DeBansa.
It's not DeBansa. It's DeBonsa.
Not DiBansa.
In fact, here, I'll pull up his pronunciation because that's how I learned it, was from him. BYU does a fantastic job on their
you're right.
athletic website. And here we go. I'm going to crank the volume on this bad boy. You ready?
DeBonsa.
AJ DeBonsa.
DeBonsa.
AJ DeBonsa.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, good.
done,
Glad we
Taman.
cleared that up.
All right. Who scores more points, Darren Peterson or AJ DeBonsa?
Darren Peterson.
Peterson scores more points.
Sorry, no. Yes.
Okay.
Final answer.
Final answer.
Yeah.
You look confident.
You're going with Peterson just to make sure?
Peterson.
Guys, why you keep asking me if I'm second guessing myself here? It's Peterson. Okay, I'm not confused.
Right, Peterson. Yeah.
One guy's named Darren, one guy's named AJ. I got it.
Give me AJ. I like AJ. Who attempts more field goals?
You would like AJ.
Know what that means? Who takes more shots?
AJ.
AJ for me as well.
So DP scores more points on less shots.
Okay, more efficient.
Number one overall pick material.
Got it. All right. Who makes and takes more threes?
Huh?
Who makes more threes and who attempts more threes?
Well, what if one does one and one does the other?
All right, can be a two-parter.
I'll go AJ on that one.
AJ makes more threes?
Takes more threes.
Okay.
I'll go with both. I think AJ does both.
Both? Oh, okay.
Takes and makes.
All right, I'm going Peterson on makes. I'm going AJ on takes. He attempts more threes, but I think Peterson makes more threes. Okay. Who, let's just go attempts. Who gets to the foul line more? Who shoots more free throws in this game? Peterson or DeBonsa? Who attempts more free throws?
Peterson.
Give me AJ. DeBonsa for me.
Okay.
Who commits more fouls? Peterson or DeBonsa?
DeBonsa.
Okay. I'm going AJ as well.
Are we actually marking these?
Yeah, Taman's writing them down.
Got it.
Does that concern you?
Just a little bit.
Okay. Who plays more minutes?
DeBonsa.
That one's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Right? Peterson could go for 40 in 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And last but not least, who wins the game? Team. BYU, KU.
So we had Spencer Linton on in the last segment, and he said kind of a crazy stat, which is that so far in the Big 12, Kansas is 2-0 in football against BYU and 0-2 in basketball against BYU. I think both of those things changed this year. So give me Kansas to win and break through, beating BYU for the first time since they joined the Big 12, and give me BYU to beat them in football this year.
Agreed. So BYU beat Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Why don't I remember that?
If I remember correctly, they trucked them.
Wow. think I do remember that. Late in the year, BYU went bananas from 3. I think Dallin Hall had a huge game. All right, I got yesterday with Oklahoma State hockey. There's renderings for an Oklahoma State hockey arena floating around on the internet. And I got. There's a check next to @GameNotesBud on Twitter, and I thought it was totally real. Turns out it was renderings that was put together by a student for a student project. With that said,
Oklahoma State doesn't even have a hockey team.
They do. They actually do.
Is it a club team or are they a Big 12 team?
It's a club team.
Yeah.
They're playing club hockey. There have been some developments where they're trying to potentially push hockey through. But I see this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be sweet. This arena looks awesome. When are we breaking ground on this bad boy? It turns out it was fake.
You got to be careful, James. You know that.
Actually, it wasn't fake. It was a tremendous job. Braden McAiner is the one that a student who did these renderings, part of a student design project for his architecture class, and it looks really good. Okay, so Oklahoma State, I got there. What are you typing away over there?
Just looking at Oklahoma State's stats on this. Hockey. Yeah.
Verifying everything coming out of my mouth.
Well, yeah. I mean, you said Oklahoma State's hockey arena, and so that got me thinking about where Oklahoma State plays hockey.
Yeah, they have I'm assuming they probably don't play at home.
No.
If they're a club team, they just travel around the country.
Or there's a rink that they have. It's not exactly. So how do you protect against this stuff on the internet? Should you just go into everything that you see on the internet and think, oh, this is fake?
Oh, yeah, that this is fake?
Just operate. I feel like when the internet first started to become popular, go around the world of like America Online and stuff, there was like a belief like, oh, yeah, if it's on the internet, it's probably true.
Right.
And like that has tipped the complete opposite direction to where there's like used to be a credibility for being on the internet. There's not anymore.
My mind now, especially with the rapid rise in advancements in AI, and not just AI like, oh, I'm talking to an AI bot or whatever, like video, images, everything else that is just exploding. Now I'm with you where my mindset is, oh, that has to be fake. And then I look for sources to verify that it's real. Where it used to be everything's real and maybe there'd be, oh, here's the verified sources that this isn't real. Now it's the total opposite.
Yeah.
Complete skepticism.
Well, and we're lucky to live in the world of sports because in news there are a lot more implications in it. And I think you also have a situation in which you have these bot farms that, like, if you see it from one place in sports, it's like, oh, it's most likely not true. So it's obvious to sort of vet. But in many cases when it comes to news stories, there's like all these different accounts that are pushing out the same information. So it makes it look like it's more legitimate based on that.
Right. Taman, what were the throwback jerseys that you were talking about earlier that you own?
No, so I was saying during the break that my wife doesn't want to buy me jerseys anymore because the last 2 jerseys she bought me were Luka Doncic and Micah Parsons because she thought that they were going to be in Dallas a long time, and now that didn't happen. So she told me she doesn't want to buy me jerseys anymore.
Well, I mean, those will be vintage throwback jerseys here in a couple of years. That's why you've got to go throwback all the way. Like guys that they're out of the league, they're not playing anymore. They were stars when they were there on your favorite team. That you need to lean into all that.
That's the plan. I told her that Dwight Powell of the Dallas Mavericks has been on the Mavs for 10 years as a backup center. Told her she should give me his jersey.
There you go. Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
No.
Right?
Came in with Rajon Rondo, and everybody else is left. He's the one Mav who can say that he's played with Dirk, Luka, and Cooper.
Great point.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Mavs.
He's been highly ineffective through all those stretches.
Now, how many jerseys do you own?
A good amount.
What is a good amount?
I mean, a lot that I don't know.
I've never seen you wear a jersey.
Yeah, I don't wear them very often. I have a lot of Michael Jordan jerseys, a decent amount of Bears jerseys. But I'm not a big jersey guy. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's more of like a collector's item.
Yeah, that's it.
Maybe during this summer, it's going to be the summer of jerseys because if it's this cold in here, it's going to be this hot in here this summer. So we're going to be rocking those jerseys. I had a really weird dream the other night where towards the tail end, I went into a closet and there were like just racks of throwback NBA jerseys, and I couldn't find one that fit, and I pulled out an Eddie Jones. Eddie Jones.
Heat?
No, Charlotte Hornets.
Wow.
A white pinstriped Eddie Jones Charlotte Hornets jersey.
That's one of the best jerseys that exists.
It is. I wasn't a Hornets fan. I barely remember Eddie Jones.
I don't even know that Eddie Jones was on the Hornets. I remember him on the Lakers and the Heat.
Oh, he was on the Hornets.
I'm not doubting you.
Well, let's verify. Let's verify. Yep, he played for the Hornets, and he was an NBA All-Star in 2000. Averaged 20 points per game that year. His best scoring season of his career. Symbolic? I'd say so.
You gonna watch the BYU Kansas game this weekend?
Oh, 1,000%.
Are you, James? Really?
The game's at 3. Actually, that will be perfect for me because I've got a shoot-around Saturday morning and then a shoot-around at 4:30. So I'll catch most of the game.
What time is your game tomorrow?
9 p.m. 9 p.m. Central Time.
Are you doing it from Los Angeles?
No, it's right here in Texas. ESPN2. If you guys are up late, flip over to ESPN2. I'll be there. It'll be
9 p.m.?
9 p.m.
In Huntsville, Texas?
Bro, I go to bed at 8:30.
Is anybody going to be there?
You know how many caffeine pills I'm going to have to take? Yeah, it's going to be electric. Huge rivalry game. Conference USA, going to be a banger. It's like their wild card game. So what they do with these non-power conferences, so ESPN will isolate a Saturday in which they'll show like Conference USA or Big West or insert league here, but you don't know the matchup until like the week or two before the game.
Smart.
It's based off of records.
That's awesome.
So this is the highest profile Conference USA game that will be on ESPN this season.
Interesting. All right, should be a good one. I'll be tuned into that.
Will you?
No.
Hey, the last Big 12 game's at 5. So you're not missing any Big 12 to watch Conference USA and yours truly.
Got a big Saturday night this this weekend.
I believe it.
It's our school fundraiser, the big what do they call it? Banquet? Yeah, the big banquet for the school.
So you weren't lying. You will not be watching.
No, I will not be.
So you won't be able to send me these AI-generated ridiculous photos.
Yeah, no.
Ari likes to take a picture of me on television, and then he plugs a bunch of stuff into ChatGPT and comes up with these ridiculous outfits, and I've got giant rabbit teeth and all kinds of stuff going on. Which, actually, it's quite funny.
Wait, so you don't look like that?
I hope not. I don't know. Time is a flat.
I will say though, the theme for the banquet for our school is the Kentucky Derby. So can I borrow that suit you wore for the other night?
You want my jacket?
Yeah,
I got you covered.
I need it.
All you need is a hat.
All I need is a hat.
You're good to go, baby blue.
Let's go.
All right, that's going to do it for us. This has been Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio. This is the Big 12 Conference. This is a different league. Back in studio, we'll join you Monday, 8A to 11A Eastern Time, 7 to 10 Central, right here on the channel. Catch BYU and KU. If you can't watch, you can listen. Right here on Big 12 Radio. Starts at 4 Eastern, 3 Central, right here on the channel. For Anthony Smith, for Taman Turner, for Ari Timken, I'm James Westling. We're out of here for the weekend.
Peace.